High in the sky, a luminous goddess materializes before a young man who gazes upon her in awe. He asks, "Is this some kind of reincarnation?" With a warm smile, the goddess nods. "Yes, your previous life was marked by hardship. That's why you've been given a second chance, the power to choose a fresh start, all thanks to a rare and special gacha." Doubt and skepticism cloud the young man's face as he mutters, "This gacha thing doesn't make me feel grateful at all. Plus, I can't remember a thing about my past life or how I met my end." The goddess, her eyes reflecting empathy, replies, "Many find themselves in a similar situation, but let's not dwell on the past. Shall we give the gacha a spin?" Reluctantly, the young man agrees, pulling the lever. A brilliant golden orb emerges, signaling an extraordinary rarity. As he examines the newfound skill, he ponders aloud, "Toxin Decomposition X? What on earth is this?" With an air of excitement, the goddess explains, "It's an incredible skill, my friend. With it, you can conquer any poison or bacteria with ease." Although unimpressed, the young man grumbles, "Just a basic skill, huh?" The goddess chuckles warmly. "You're about to enter a world teeming with magic, monsters, and stats. Embrace it, and may your new life be filled with wonder." Suddenly, a wave of panic washes over the young man, and he cries out, "Wait! This is all too sudden, goddess!" And so he was teleported, began his grand adventure in this captivating world, armed with his unique skill, begins with a rush of excitement and trepidation. In a dimly lit room, the young man gradually regains consciousness and stirs from his slumber. He mutters to himself, "Was that just a dream of my reincarnation? It's been 5 years since then. This isn't good." He reflects on his unique skill, Toxin Decomposition EX, which allows him to neutralize any poison or bacteria. Testing it for the first time on some mold, he witnesses its success, but a pounding headache and sluggishness follow. He wonders if this is a side effect of his skill, deeming it rather useless. "All right," he decides, "I won't use this anymore." Realization suddenly dawns upon him. "Oh no, I forgot I promised to train with father at noon." Outside, the young man can be seen training with a sword, his father observing his progress. "Ah, Ain," his father acknowledges, "it seems like you've improved your sword skills." Ain responds humbly, "Yes, thank you very much." He introduces his father, Logus, as a great general from the largest kingdom on the continent, Heim Kingdom. Ain's family, the Roundheart family, holds sway over the territory surrounding a major port city near the capital, owing to their influence and earl status. Ain believes his reincarnation into this family is due to his super rare gacha. Just then, Camilla, Ain's stepmother, interjects, announcing that preparations for Grint's training are complete. His father, delighted, praises Grint. "You look splendid in that, Grint. You're already resembling a knight." Ain acknowledges his father's decision to accompany Grint in training while he continues honing his sword skills. Watching from afar, Grint shoots a smirk at Ain, leaving him perplexed. Ain explains their relationship. "Grint is my half-brother, born of father's second marriage. We share blood ties, and he's just a year younger than me. My little brother possesses an exceptional skill, while I'm stuck with a plain one like toxin decomposition." Frustration wells up within Ain as he ponders his brother's unique talent. While practicing his sword swings, Ain's frustration intensifies. He gazes upon a training dummy clad in iron armor and takes a combat stance, preparing to strike. Anxious about potential onlookers, he hesitates. Suddenly, a guard nearby shouts to Ain, "Young master, that thing's made of iron. It's impossible for someone your age to hit it." Determined to prove himself, Ain disregards the warning and leaps forward, delivering a powerful blow to the iron-clad dummy. The impact sends a jarring shock through his arm, and he tumbles to the ground. "It hurts," Ain grumbles. The guard admonishes, "Didn't I tell you it was impossible?" However, Ain refuses to be discouraged by their differences. He resolves, I can't let our disparities get me down. If I want to surprise Father and Mother Camilla, I have to work harder than anyone else. Back in his room, Ain immerses himself in books, his determination unwavering. In a cozy room filled with the warm glow of a reading lamp, the young man engrosses himself in books. As he delves deeper into his studies, the desk before him becomes increasingly crowded, every inch covered with stacked books. Just then, the butler enters the room, a gentle reminder that dinner is nearly ready. Upon closer inspection of Ain's desk, the butler is astounded by the towering stack of books, resembling a miniature mountain. Ain, startled by the intrusion, realizes he's lost track of time. He quickly apologizes for his tardiness. The butler, filled with admiration, assures him that an apology is unnecessary. He observes his unwavering dedication to his studies and rigorous training, believing that everyone in the mansion envisions the young master as a potential scholar and even a future general. Ain, with a grateful smile, thanks the butler, hoping his vision will come true. The butler remembers that Madame will be finishing her work soon. His eyes light up with happiness, and he eagerly anticipates having dinner with the lady. Suggesting that he pays her a visit before dinner, the butler receives an enthusiastic response. Yes, I will. Filled with excitement, he heads towards the lady's room, forming a fist before knocking politely. A warm voice from within grants him entry, and upon opening the door, he is met by a lovely lady, Olivia, who welcomes him with open arms. He introduces Olivia as his mother, although his memories from his previous life make her feel more like an older sister than a mother to him. Olivia embraces her son with affection, detecting the unmistakable scent of books on him. She acknowledges his relentless efforts, a testament to his commendable character. Although he finds the situation somewhat embarrassing, he doesn't mind it one bit. As they begin their conversation, he mentions hearing that Olivia's work is wrapping up. She confirms it, but explains that her responsibilities are many and she's uncertain about how to organize all the report documents. He quickly realizes that his father and mother are working separately on when it comes to work. He takes pride in his mother's role as a lady from a prominent merchant association, somewhat similar to a company manager. Olivia's intelligence and beauty afford her many advantages, a fact he secretly praises while his mother wonders about his thoughts. Suddenly, Olivia remembers a surprise she has for Ain, something he has been eagerly anticipating. She reveals the arrival of a status card, the kind used by adventurers. His eyes widen in amazement and gratitude. However, he's uncertain whether his stats in this world are favorable or not. He openly voices his doubts, mentioning that children under 5 years old should have an average stamina of at least 10. Olivia responds, "Is that so?" Upon inspecting the status card, he breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that his starting stats aren't bad at all. Curiosity piqued, he inquires about the gift of training. Olivia explains that it's a skill designed to keep one's body resilient against pain and sickness while preventing exhaustion. She adds that his hard work hasn't gone unnoticed, and that she knows it better than anyone else. Ain, moved by his mother's praise, feels his eyes well up, but manages to hold back tears. Olivia recalls another task she must attend to involving grandmother and invites Ain to accompany her since it's been a while. Politeness in mind, she asks if it's okay for him to join her. He responds with joy, signifying his eagerness. Moments later, they enter another room and meet a merchant who graciously greets Madame Roundheart. Olivia announces her intention to select some tea, and the meeting begins. Amid the process of tea selection, Ain's eyes catch sight of a magic stone, capturing his interest. The merchant explains that magic stones originate from a monster's body, located at its core. These crystal formations contain the creature's magical power and can be used in rituals, magic, or accessories. The high-quality magic stone before them brims with potent magic, potentially causing issues inside a human body. The merchant reassures him that it's safe to touch, as this particular magic stone is of low level and meant for use in magic tools. As Ain holds the stone, he senses an aura within and even detects a scent akin to condensed honey. With the tempting aroma filling his senses, he hesitates, but ultimately yields to the curiosity within him. He discreetly licks the stone, savoring the unexpected burst of sweetness. His sudden reaction startles everyone in the room, prompting inquiries about his well-being. He manages to pass it off as nothing, though he secretly harbors guilt over his impulsive lick. Fortunately, the merchant understands his fondness for the magic stone and, with a smile, offers it to Ain as a gift. Relief washes over Ain as he hears the merchant's generous words. Ain observes the yellow magic stone, noticing that its colors gradually begin to fade. The following day, as Ain resumes his sword training, a surge of energy courses through him. Spotting the training dummy from before, he lunges at it, with renewed determination, successfully piercing the iron armor. His excitement soars as he avoids the previous deflection. However, upon closer inspection, he realizes that his wooden sword has shattered, leaving the training dummy cut with precision. The guard, watching in astonishment, believes that Ain has somehow managed to slash through the iron armor with a wooden sword. The next day arrived, and Ain, accompanied by his mother Olivia, embarked on a journey to a significant event. However, it was apparent that Olivia wasn't particularly thrilled about attending. She seemed rather agitated, and Ain couldn't help but notice. While gazing out of the carriage window, Ain began to suspect that his stepmother, Camilla, and his younger brother Grint might be at the root of her unease. The event they were about to attend was a grand social party in the capital, where nobles introduced their children to one another. During this gathering, Ain's father, Logas, intended to make a significant announcement. Grint, the second son, would be declared the heir to the Roundheart house. Furthermore, Grint would be formally engaged to Lady Shannon Blueno, the daughter of a marquis. Olivia couldn't help but apologize to Ain for the way things had unfolded. Despite being the eldest son, circumstances had taken an unexpected turn, and Grint was being groomed as the heir. Ain, though a bit frustrated, sympathized with his mother's sadness. Witnessing her distress, he made a silent promise to work even harder to gain his father's recognition. He still pondered what had happened with the metal armor incident and why. While lost in these thoughts, Olivia informed Ain that they had arrived. As he stepped out of the carriage, his jaw dropped, and his eyes widened in astonishment. Before him stood a magnificent 3-story mansion with an impressive fountain at its entrance, guarded by towering gates. Olivia explained that this was the residence of the Archduke, the highest-ranking noble in Heim Kingdom, and it was only fitting that such a splendid mansion belonged to him. Logas approached Olivia and revealed that they would go and greet Grint's fiancée, Lady Shannon, and the rest of the family. He instructed Ain and Olivia to proceed to the mansion's main hall first. Ain couldn't help but notice Camilla, his stepmother, concealing a sly smirk, which left him with a sense of foreboding. Ain and his mother proceeded to the main hall. As they approached the entrance to the event, they were informed that Ain was not allowed to participate in the party. Olivia was perplexed by this sudden turn of events. The receptionist responsible for handling invitations apologized, citing a possible error in the invitation. Since Grint and the Roundheart family were already inside, they were no longer permitted to enter. As Olivia attempted to negotiate Ain's entry, he began to realize that Camilla had likely orchestrated this situation to guarantee Grint's participation in the event. Despite both Olivia and the receptionist's efforts, Ain understood that their words would not change his fate. He cast a glance toward the mansion's garden, complimenting its beauty. He preferred strolling through the garden over attending the event he had little interest in. The mother was worried about this arrangement, but Ain assured her, complimenting the Archduke's garden and assuring her that he would enjoy the beauty of the flowers. Olivia hugged her son, expressing that such a situation wouldn't have arisen in their own home. The receptionist quickly arranged for Ain's entry into the garden. Ain thanked him for his assistance. Soon, small footsteps approached, and a young lady inquired if he was the eldest son of the Roundheart house. He affirmed, and she introduced herself as Clon, the granddaughter of the head of the Auguste house, Graf Auguste. Ain was taken aback by her beauty, stumbling over his introduction. He couldn't help but wonder why the Archduke's granddaughter would be so kind as to guide them through the garden. Clon addressed his confusion with an incredulous look, explaining that there had been a mistake in the invitation. With Clon as their guide, Ain and Olivia entered the garden. Ain couldn't contain his smile as he admired the exquisite flowers. In Clon's perspective, she had overheard gossip at the event about the Roundheart family, specifically rumors that the second son was arrogant and lacked etiquette. However, she was relieved to find Ain to be the most gentlemanly person she had encountered that day. Suddenly, Ain complimented Clon's beauty, causing her to blush. He quickly redirected the conversation to the flowers, although her annoyance was apparent. She spoke about the blue rose, a flower that could emit its own light, requiring a delicate balance of 4 elements. However, it was not just beautiful, it was also deadly. The rose's poison had claimed 1,000 lives, causing excruciating internal burning, earning it the name Blue Fire Rose. She explained that the rose had the potential to become a beautiful jewel, and its poison could crystallize objects. This jewel was called a star crystal, and once the poison was neutralized, it transformed into a stunning piece of jewelry, similar to a starry night. Olivia noted that it would take at least half a year's worth of territory taxes to obtain such a jewel. This sparked an idea in Ain's mind. He suggested to himself that he should try using the skill granted to him by the goddess on this flower. He offered Clon the chance to witness the creation of a star crystal, which had always been her dream. With determination, Ain initiated the skill's power, and a bright glow began to emanate. Although he felt a sensation similar to drinking soda, he was still wary of potential side effects. Olivia and Clon anxiously warned him not to touch the flower. Miraculously, Ain succeeded in neutralizing the poison and felt a mild sensation of carbonation. He remembered that this was the skill granted to him by the goddess, a power capable of countering any poison. The flower transformed into a crystallized star crystal, leaving both women in awe. Ain held the crystal in his palms and, with a gleam of happiness in his eyes, realized the true potential of his skill. A bright light briefly surged from the crystal, stunning them all. Ain offered the crystal to Clon, but then hesitated, realizing how cheesy his gesture had been. Clon blushed in surprise, but ultimately accepted the gift. Ain then asked Clon for permission to create another star crystal for his mother. She agreed, and Ain successfully created another crystal. Clon was astonished by how quickly he could perform this feat. As their garden stroll came to an end, Clon expressed her gratitude to Ain for the time they had spent together. She mentioned that they no longer needed to be so formal, and Ain agreed. They both grinned and shared a laugh. As they waited for Logas to return, they were informed that the Roundheart family had already left. Ain felt a sense of worthlessness in his father's eyes. Olivia asked Ain if he had any affection for his father, to which he honestly replied that he didn't know. Olivia responded cheerfully, informing him that they were headed to a beautiful place, their fatherland. Once Ain's mother, Olivia, mentioned the term fatherland, she took off her wedding ring with confidence, holding it between her fingers and burning the metal ring into ashes. Ain was taken aback by her ability to do this. Ain couldn't help but be concerned about why his mother had incinerated her ring. When he asked her about it, she simply replied, "I simply don't need it anymore." She smiled at Ain and subtly conveyed a message, "I'm going home. Please come pick me up right away," which she tucked away in her ear. Suggesting they head to the city port, Olivia and Ain took a carriage. Ain was surprised when they passed their house, but his mother assured him to wait a bit longer. Suddenly, there was a loud commotion outside the carriage. People were in a state of panic, as they had never seen such a massive vessel before. Even Ain was stunned by the advanced cannons and seemingly impenetrable ship. Ain was in a state of panic, wondering why such a huge ship was there. His mother, on the other hand, held his hand and boldly approached the ship, leaving Ain confused and eager to understand the situation. Lady Olivia stood in front of the ship, surrounded by curious commoners asking her about the vessel. Suddenly, a group of knights emerged with the clanking of metal armor. Panic spread among the crowd, and people began to flee. As the knights approached Olivia, they halted and stood at attention before her, signifying a command. Ain was unsure, confused, and fearful of the situation. He jumped in front of his mother to protect her. Olivia reassured him that everything was fine and proceeding as planned. One of the knights approached Ain and Olivia, assuring Ain to relax. The knight introduced herself as Christina Wernstein. Ain was caught off guard by her unexpected kindness and thought to himself that she was beautiful. Olivia greeted Christina warmly, mentioning that it had been a long time since they had last met. Christina explained that they had received Olivia's message and had rushed to the port. Ain overheard someone say, "The ship has come to pick the Princess Olivia back." Shocked by this revelation, Ain questioned his mother about the meaning behind these words. Olivia promised to explain everything on the way, and they boarded the ship, ready to set sail. Meanwhile, at the august Archduke's mansion, Clon and her grandfather discussed Ain. They spoke highly of Ain's remarkable personality, and Clon even showed her grandfather the rare jewel from the blue rose fire that Ain had given her. Clon's grandfather was bewildered by why the Roundheart family had made the second son the next head and worried that they might break their promise. He revealed that Olivia, the daughter of the Bardland Company and a resident of the United Nation of Ishtalica, was the daughter of Silviard von Ishtalica, the current king of Ishtalica, and the second princess, Oliva von Ishtalica. This meant that Ain came from a royal bloodline and was a prince. On the ship, Olivia apologized for keeping this secret from her son. Ain was eager to know why a princess from such a great kingdom would marry into the Roundheart family. However, before Olivia could explain, Christina interrupted, insisting that it was not allowed to be disclosed. Unfortunately, Olivia couldn't provide more details at the moment, promising to do so later. Ain seemed content with the situation, seeing his mother relaxed and happy compared to her previous sorrowful demeanor. Christina asked about the flower Ain had given Clon, and, upon learning that Ain had created it, playfully suggested that giving such a gift to someone of the opposite gender amounted to a proposal. Ain panicked, but Christina encouraged him to continue with the explanation. He realized that he had indirectly proposed to Clon without intending to, causing those around him to find it endearing. As Christina and Olivia chatted, they mentioned that after arriving at the port, they would need to transfer to the water train. This piqued Ain's interest, and he asked for more information. Christina explained that the train operated by heating up water using a water magic stone. Before she could finish, Ain interjected, saying that it worked by using steam produced by the stone. Olivia and Christina were impressed by Ain's knowledge, considering it was far beyond what was known in the Heim Kingdom. As they prepared to disembark at the port, Ain was dressed in royal clothing. Upon arrival, Ain couldn't help but notice the familiarity of the water train systems. He marveled not only at the technology, but also at the presence of demi-humans, such as elves and beastmen, something he had never encountered before. As they entered the city, a towering central tower caught Ain's eye. He couldn't help but exclaim, "So this is Ishtalica, amazing!" They made their way toward the palace, and Christina asked Olivia about her father's reaction to her return. Christina hadn't informed the king yet, but she had received a message instructing everyone to act normally if they encountered Olivia. Aine was curious about the woman named Marche, but Olivia explained that she had taken care of her when she was young. Aine couldn't help but imagine her as an old and stern lady. As they approached the grand doors of the palace, Olivia asked if they might be busy. Christina suggested they return later, but Olivia confidently pushed open the door, leaving Christina and Aine hesitating and panicking. As they entered, they found themselves in the midst of a royal meeting. The king was surprised by the unexpected turn of events, and Aine, feeling nervous, could only watch the situation unfold. In the midst of a royal meeting in Ishtalika, there was an unexpected interruption as the king was puzzled by the presence of his daughter Olivia. She should have been married to another country by now, and the appearance of a child with her raised questions. Nervously, the young boy introduced himself as An, formerly known as An Roundheart. It didn't take long for the king to connect the dots and realize that An was Olivia's son. With kindness, the king introduced himself as Silviard von Ishtalika, the ruler of Ishtalika, and revealed that he was Aine's grandfather. The king's loyal knight, Lloyd Galatia, also introduced himself as the Grand Marshal of the kingdom. Olivia dropped a bombshell by announcing that she would not be returning to Heim, her previous kingdom, due to an impending divorce. The king, shocked and angered, demanded an explanation. Olivia explained her concerns about Aine growing up in Heim and the way things were there. The king decided to resume the meeting, but made it clear that no one present was allowed to speak of this matter, to which everyone agreed. However, the king later requested Olivia to explain herself further. After her explanation, the king and the Grand Marshal were in distress and ready to wage war against Heim. But Olivia reassured her father that they should honor the promise they had made. Aine was surprised to learn that the talking cat he had encountered earlier was actually the first princess of Ishtalika, Kadima von Ishtalika. Olivia asked her father for permission to explain everything to Aine, and he granted her request. The Prime Minister, Warren Lark, then revealed the main reason for Olivia's marriage to Heim. They possessed sea crystals, which Ishtalika desired. These crystals, made from ocean-dwelling monsters' bones, were used as magic tools, granting people the ability to use magic freely in Ishtalika. However, the sea crystals near the border had been depleted, leading Ishtalika to seek them from another country. Aine realized that his mother had married for the sake of her people in Ishtalika. The Prime Minister explained that in exchange for the sea crystals, Ishtalika had promised to protect Heim Kingdom. Additionally, once Aine reached adulthood and became the head of the family, he would be promoted to a duke. The king agreed that this was the best course of action, especially with a sea dragon approaching. Olivia informed her father that she had already found potential suppliers. She emphasized that despite her divorce, she hadn't abandoned her royal duty. Confidently, she handed the report to the Prime Minister. As the Prime Minister read the report, he was shocked to learn that the sea crystals, which should have been on the ocean floor, were rising to the surface. He commended Olivia's efforts. Olivia expressed that her son was her top priority, and she would do whatever it took for his well-being. The king proposed a reward for Olivia's work. Suddenly, a document was presented for the royal king and princess to sign an agreement. The king announced that Aine would be officially granted royalty status in Ishtalika and appointed as the crown prince, sealing the fate of the young boy in the kingdom. In the bustling capital city of Ishtalika, the return of Olivia and the revelation of her son as the crown prince sparked a whirlwind of gossip among the people. Amidst the chatter, Aine, the newfound crown prince, grappled with self-doubt. He questioned his own capacity to fulfill the role, lamenting the absence of a potential skill that others seemed to possess. The Grand Marshal, however, approached Aine with words of encouragement. He revealed his own unique skill, a talent he had possessed since birth, even though he found it somewhat embarrassing. The Grand Marshal reassured Aine that effort was a treasure capable of overcoming any obstacle. If Aine continued to work hard, the Grand Marshal believed his worries would gradually dissipate. Just as Aine absorbed this valuable advice, Kadima, the first princess, appeared out of nowhere and whisked him away from the Grand Marshal's side, promising to return him later. Once they were alone, Kadima inquired about a specific task Olivia had mentioned concerning Aine's newfound skill. She examined Ain's status card and identified a skill that proved Ain's lineage as Olivia's son, with the characteristics of a dryad. Ain, intrigued by the notion of a dryad, was surprised to learn that he might eventually grow roots from his body, similar to his mother. Throughout Ishtalika's history, royal lineage had often seen descendants inherit various traits from their ancient ancestors. Ain couldn't help but humorously contemplate whether the royal lineage had a gotcha system for determining the traits of its descendants. Ain shared his daily training regimen, which had led to a rapid increase in his level. Kadima explained that this progress was likely due to his absorption of the magic power stored in magic stones. Curious about how she knew this, Ain was informed that monsters could strengthen their bodies by consuming magic stones, but these stones were toxic to humans. However, through a process called toxin decomposition, humans could bypass the poison. Christina revealed her elven heritage and the presence of magic stones within demi-humans. Ain finally understood that her earlier stumble was not due to clumsiness, but rather a result of Ain's magic stone's absorption. To further demonstrate, Kadima presented 2 magic stone boxes, a smaller one worth 5,000 gold each, and a larger high-grade stone priced at 90,000 gold. Ain decided to test the cheaper one first and found it easily absorbed. When he attempted the high-grade stone, he recoiled from its taste, which reminded him of walnuts he disliked. Kadima clarified that the quality of the magic stone directly affected the increase in one's status. Ain remembered that when he initially used toxin decomposition, he experienced a mild headache. Now, however, he was fine. Kadima attributed this improvement to his rigorous training, which had lessened the pain and enhanced his immunity to illnesses due to being a dryad. Ain's mother Olivia joined them and hugged her son in joy. Kadima confirmed that the test results showed no problems, alleviating any concerns. As Olivia and Ain departed, they encountered Ain's grandfather. Together they entered the royal treasure room, where Ain was puzzled by the reason for their presence. His grandfather explained that this was the reward Olivia had chosen to give him. Ain was taken aback by this revelation. The king, present in the room, narrated a tale from 500 years ago when a demon lord had appeared on the Ishtar continent. The magical crystal before them was once part of the demon lord's entourage. With a single swing of his blade, the demon lord could tear through the sky and divide the sea. Ain's heart raced as he approached the magic stone and absorbed its power. He heard a voice utter, "You've returned." This unexpected occurrence triggered a massive cloud and lightning spectacle that enveloped Ain. The king cautioned him to release the stone if he felt his life was in danger, but Ain held on. A blinding light spiraled around him, followed by a shroud of smoke. When it cleared, Ain felt a tremendous surge of power coursing through him. Klon, with a wistful heart, fondly recalled her encounter with Ain, longing for his presence as he seemed to have disappeared from her life. To her surprise, a maid entered her room to check on her homework's progress. Much to Klon's own amazement, she had completed an entire week's worth of assignments out of sheer boredom. She felt a growing need to become someone worthy of Ain's company. The maid, who was tasked with informing Klon to prepare a letter for Ain, set to work immediately, overwhelmed by both panic and excitement. Struggling to find the right words, the maid suggested consulting Klon's grandfather. Klon readily agreed and hurriedly sought her grandfather's advice, eager to convey her feelings to Ain as soon as possible. Meanwhile, in Ishtalika, both the king and Oliva noticed that Ain's status level had abnormally increased due to his absorption of a national treasure. However, the king cautioned Ain not to let the numbers inflate his ego, stressing the importance of finding a worthy vessel to contain his newfound power, to which Ain agreed. The king mused that everything had proceeded according to Oliva's plan. This revelation left him wondering if Oliva had been orchestrating this since the day she sought a divorce. Oliva explained that she had indeed intended to fulfill her royal duty, but the sudden demise of the Roundheart family's head, whom they had trusted, left her uncertain about the future. She bravely used her rizzling skill to manipulate Logus, further confounding the king. In a shocking revelation, Oliva disclosed that Ain was born as a dryad, adding another layer of complexity to her plans. This revelation piqued Ain's curiosity, but the king urged him to return by himself, as he wished to discuss matters privately with Oliva, a request Ayn readily accepted. Ayn later met with the Prime Minister and Kadima, who discussed the mistake of marrying Oliva into the Roundheart family. Ayn was curious about the term root, and after some hesitation, Kadima explained that it meant making a child. She elaborated that for dryads, this process was a serious commitment, as they could only have one relationship for their entire life, which was the essence of root. Ayn was taken aback by this revelation and sought confirmation from the Prime Minister. They warned Ayn about avoiding the royal treasure room, where a national treasure, the Demon King's magic stone, was displayed. They cautioned Ayn not to absorb any magic stones, as he might do so impulsively. Intrigued, Ayn became even hungrier. Ayn inquired about the first king, who was celebrated as a hero. Kadima and the Prime Minister agreed that the first king possessed not only strength, but also a kind heart. This conversation piqued Ayn's interest in the first king's actions and history, and he declared his aspiration to become a great king, one who could measure up to the first king. With their support, Ayn felt excited about his journey ahead. 8 months later, Ayn, Christina, and the Grand Marshal ventured into the forest for monster fighting training. Their encounter with a forest rat prompted Ayn to strategize his first solo battle. Christina and the Grand Marshal observed Ayn with approval, eager to witness his progress. Ayn dispatched the rat monster with ease and continued to take on all the other monsters single-handedly. To their delight, the monsters posed no challenge to Ayn's newfound power. However, an unseen threat lurked behind Ayn, prompting a natural defensive mechanism to emerge from his body, a phantom hand. Ayn explained that with Kadima's assistance, he had upgraded the phantom hand to allow the absorption of magic stones from living targets. While Christina expressed her concern over the potential dangers of this upgrade, the Grand Marshal looked forward to Ayn's growth and happiness. As they headed back to the royal castle, Ayn spotted a jewelry shop and expressed a desire to take a look inside. Christina and Ayn donned disguises to blend in, while the Grand Marshal patiently waited outside. Upon entering, they were greeted by a male figure exuding a distinct feminine energy. The owner of the magic shop, a man exuding an unexpectedly feminine energy, greeted Ayn and Christina. To their mutual surprise, Christina and the owner knew each other. The owner inquired about Ayn's purpose in the shop, and Ayn expressed his interest in examining some magic stones. However, he agreed not to touch magic stones or sea crystals, as they might be harmful. While browsing the selection, Ayn's eyes fell upon a magic stone priced at a staggering 45,000 gold coins. The owner revealed it to be a white wyvern magic stone, commonly used for making high-quality meat. Given Ayn's hesitation, the owner offered a discount, reducing the price to 30,000 gold coins. Ayn promptly declared his intention to purchase it, much to Christina's surprise at his impulsive decision. Ayn continued to explore the shop and identified several other magic stones that caught his fancy. He acquired them one by one, leaving Christina astounded by the generosity extended to him by the Majesty. Suddenly, Ayn's gaze fixated on a particular magic stone called the Accursed Jewel. The owner explained that it haunted its owners in their dreams. Intrigued by the mysterious crystal, Ayn believed that Kadima could help him analyze it further. He proposed buying the stone, and despite Christina's urgent protests, the owner agreed to sell it for a price of 300,000 gold coins. Ayn promptly sealed the deal with an enthusiastic "sold." Christina's worries deepened, but the owner assured them that if anything felt amiss, they should return to the shop immediately. The owner expressed admiration for the Crown Prince's daring nature. Upon returning to the royal castle, Ayn interrupted by a knock at the door. March, Olivia's personal servant, entered to help Ayn change into his clothes. Ayn hesitated, as he believed he could manage on his own, but Marcia insisted it was her duty to serve Olivia's son. She assured him not to worry about her busy schedule. Marcia then handed Ayn a letter, explaining that it came from the Heim noble house via the Euro Kingdom. As Ayn opened the letter, curious who it might be, she expressed her gratitude for the gift he had given her, and her inability to forget the time they had spent together. Clawn apologized for not disclosing her name, but hinted that if Ishtalika were to welcome her, she would reveal her identity at that time. Ain was taken aback, realizing that the sender was none other than Klon herself. In the kingdom of Ishtalika, a young boy named An received a letter from a woman named Klon. The letter piqued his curiosity, and he found himself lost in thoughts about the day they had first met. Klon had treated An and his mother kindly, and he felt obligated to respond to her letter. Ain's attendant, Marcia, noticed his contemplative mood and asked if he intended to reply to Klon's letter. Ain confirmed that he would, as he wanted to maintain good relations with her. Marcia added that it was easier for people from Heim to visit Ishtalika if they had a good relationship with Olivia. Ain was pleased to hear this good news. A few months passed, and Ain found himself engaged in a sparring match with one of the soldiers. The commander, Olivia, and Christina cheered him on from the sidelines. A deflection and disarmament occurred during the match, leaving Ain without a weapon. The determined soldier pressed on, but Ain displayed remarkable agility, dodging the strikes. To the soldier's surprise, Ain swiftly countered, presenting a sword at his face. Ain won the match, and his mother praised him for his hard work. Ain expressed his gratitude to Christina and Lloyd, the commander, for teaching him swordsmanship. Both of them were moved by his progress. The commander emphasized that while Ain could protect himself, the other soldiers needed to train harder to avoid becoming weaker than him. He ordered them to run laps until sunset, despite Ain thinking it might be a bit much. Lloyd believed that effort was essential to becoming strong and skilled, just as Ain had become strong through his triumphant efforts. Lloyd, with a smile, offered to spar with Ain, who felt nervous about the idea. However, the sparring session went beyond the castle walls when the ground trembled from Lloyd's powerful strike. Despite the commotion, Ain managed to dodge and avoid Lloyd's attack, and the commander assured Olivia that he was strong enough to fend for himself. Olivia mentioned to her son that he would turn 7 in the winter and informed him about attending a royal academy. This academy, located in the capital and accessible by train, was considered safe, given the king's involvement. Ain felt a mix of excitement and nervousness at the thought of becoming a prince. Christina suggested they go for a stroll, leading Ain to an idyllic beach that he had never seen before. She explained that it served as an emergency route. Ain learned that his entrance exam for the academy was the next day and confidently declared his intention to pursue swordsmanship. Christina believed he would excel, considering his earlier victory over the knights. Curious, Ain asked Christina who would win in a duel between her and Lloyd against his father. She demonstrated her skill by dropping her sword and disappearing in an instant, leaving Ain amazed and reappearing next to Ain. Christina believed she could beat Ain's father as Lloyd was the strongest knight in Ishtalika. Ain was determined to become stronger, with a goal of surpassing both Lloyd and Christina, just as the first king had done. Christina assured him she looked forward to that day. Ain realized that their beach outing was meant to ease his anxiety about the exam, to which Christina confirmed. A gust of wind blew, and Christina's ribbon fell off, leaving Ain entranced by her beauty. He couldn't help but stare because of her beauty, though he assured her nothing was wrong. The next day, accompanied by Christina, Ain headed to the water train station. As they approached, they encountered a crowd of students, their guardians, and researchers. Ain marveled at the sight of the Royal Kingsland Academy. Christina wished him good luck as he entered the hall for the entrance exam. Inside, Ain witnessed a student being launched against a wall by a strict and cocky examiner. The examiner's attitude was far from welcoming, and Ain realized that this was the person who would test him. In this exam, stating one's name was prohibited to ensure fairness. When it was Ain's turn, he aimed to prove his strength and pass the test. The examiner, displaying a cocky attitude, roasted Ain with words. Ain responded with a bold leap and a strike, surprising the examiner. They stood toe-to-toe, and the examiner acknowledged Ain's formidability. However, Ain was unexpectedly struck by the examiner, who continued to insult and belittle him for relying on his status rather than mastering necessary techniques. Ain realized that this was no ordinary opponent, as the examiner was stronger than the knights. Ain focused on the purpose of the exam, which was not merely to win, but to demonstrate his determination. The examiner insulted Ain's mentors and urged him to quit. Ain, filled with determination and anger, activated his unique skill, the Black Knight, to prove his worth. The examiner was bewildered by Ain's skill and challenged him to explain it. Ain, however, had no recollection of such a rule. Ain was ready to face the formidable examiner in his entrance exam for the Royal Kingsland Academy. The examiner, a skilled adversary, engaged in a fierce clash with An. Using his Black Knight power, Ain managed to surprise the examiner. Still, the cunning examiner saw through Ain's tactics and delivered a devastating blow. He taunted Ain, revealing how easy it was to counter his moves. But Ain was not one to back down. He revealed another trump card, devouring his own magic to increase his power. His attacks became increasingly destructive, causing the examiner to grow wary as they threatened to destroy the exam field. The examiner noticed Ain's movements slowing down after observing his hands closely. In a final, powerful strike from Ain, the examiner managed to block the attack, albeit with difficulty. Ain commented on the examiner's choice to use both hands to defend against his strike. With the added pressure from the Black Knight arms, the ground shattered. The examiner, realizing he'd had enough, broke through Ain's attack. The battle went back and forth, both sides attacking and struggling. Ain summoned his Black Knight skills for one last strike, sending the examiner crashing against the wall. The examiner, shocked by Ain's skill and caliber, admitted that he had never encountered someone like him. Ain was pleased to hear these words and urged the examiner to continue the fight. However, due to the destruction of the testing ground, the examiner decided not to continue the test. Ain realized it was his fault for letting his anger control him and apologized. The examiner left with an intriguing expression, leaving Ain to ponder the outcome of the test. After the exam concluded, Ain left with a sense of joy. However, he was met with an unexpected reaction from Christina, who greeted him for passing the test, but was furious that he had used his powerful skill. She made him promise not to reveal it to others. Ain apologized, explaining that he couldn't stand by when someone spoke ill of Christina and the others. Christina understood his feelings, but cautioned him against using such a potent ability lightly. She was relieved by his sincerity. Ain couldn't help but worry about having potentially injured the examiner, but Christina assured him that the academy had specialist healers and was well prepared for any injuries. She also pointed out that the examiners were renowned adventurers, known for their incredible strength. Christina made it clear that there would be consequences, as the king would become aware of the incident, and Ain needed to be prepared for what might come. A few days later, Ain found himself facing the king. They had a conversation about the events of the exam, and the king decided that Ain's first job as a royal would be to participate in public affairs in the port town of Magna. A new chapter of challenges and responsibilities awaited Ain, who was determined to prove himself in this new role. Ain's first public affair took him to the buzzing port town of Magna, and he was accompanied by the Prime Minister and Christina. As they arrived, Ain couldn't help but be in awe of the mighty battleships that Ishtalika had in its arsenal. Christina explained that these battleships served as the nation's border defense. Magna was one of the largest cities in Ishtalika, and in the morning, its market was alive with the arrival of fishing ships selling their fresh catch. Ain's task for the day was to get a closer look at the battleships and observe the first batch of sea crystals that had arrived from Euro under Olivia's contract. The group then went to see the unprocessed sea crystals. Christina opened a massive crate, and Ain commented that they looked like hardened salt, a remark that the Prime Minister found amusing. With his public affairs work complete, the Prime Minister bid his farewell, and Ain expressed his gratitude for the experience. He asked if they had time to pick a souvenir for his mother, to which they obliged. Ain remembered how his mother had initially been against him going without her, and had thrown a tantrum. However, his grandfather had handed a letter to Olivia, which had miraculously calmed her down. Christina suggested that it would be a special day that Ain would remember, leaving him puzzled. The Prime Minister proposed waiting for a moment to check something with Christina regarding the ships, and Ain agreed. With a rare moment of free time on his hands, Ain decided to watch the sea on the pier. Christina expressed concern about his safety, but the Prime Minister presented him with a necklace, a great earth ruby, a magical amulet with the power to protect its wearer. Christina allowed it this once, and Ain thanked them. He heads towards the pier, complimenting the magnificent view, and suggested to himself that taking a nap would be a relaxing feeling, and so heads to a secluded spot on the pier and takes a nap. As he dozed off, an unknown presence approached him. In his dream, Ain saw his mother running through fields of flowers, her laughter filling the air. He suddenly sneezed, and as he slowly awakened, he felt a gentle tickling sensation with hair brushing against his face. Ain opened his eyes and was puzzled as he recalled the floral scene. To his astonishment, it was none other than Klon herself, and her lap served as his pillow. The reunion of Ain and Klon was filled with joy and emotion, watched from afar by the Prime Minister and Christina. Klon was taken aback to discover that Ain was royalty, and Ain, in turn, expressed his surprise. However, he emphasized that the most important thing was that they were talking at that very moment, and they shared a moment of laughter. Ain inquired if Klon had come alone, and she explained that she was with her grandfather. In the distance, Archduke Auguste and the Prime Minister Warren engaged in a conversation. Klon revealed that after her grandfather's retirement as a former archduke, they had embarked on a journey to Birdland, a trading city, but had gone missing along the way. They were grateful for Olivia's help, which enabled them to travel from Euro to Ishtalica. Ain apologized for the situation, though Klon assured him it wasn't necessary and thanked him for waiting. Christina appeared, and Ain introduced Klon to her, but Christina explained that she had already greeted Klon and her grandfather, while Ain had been napping on the pier. She warned Ain not to do it again, and then revealed her plan to head out, inviting Klon to join them, which she accepted. Klon formally greeted the Crown Prince and asked for his permission to accompany him. Ain responded with casual etiquette, and they set off together. Later, Klon had a formal meeting with Olivia, the second princess of Ishtalica. She expressed her gratitude for Olivia's hospitality, but Olivia felt saddened that Klon had to address her formally as a princess. Olivia reassured her that there was no need for formality, and it was just the two of them in the room, and insisted to call her just like before. Klon then remembered meeting the Prime Minister Warren before her encounter with Ain and the question he had asked her. Klon explained that she had received a gift from the Crown Prince and had crossed the sea with anticipation of meeting him. Olivia inquired about the current relationship between her and Ain. Klon admitted uncertainty about her qualifications to answer, but Olivia posed another question. Did she have any intention of staying in Ishtalica for the rest of her life? Klon's bold response surprised Olivia, who revealed her relief and happiness. She suggested enrolling Klon in a female royal academy, of which Olivia's mother was the director. Olivia believed that it would help Klon shine and further refine her skills, allowing her to glow even brighter. She offered to assist Klon in achieving her goals, and Klon was deeply moved, shedding a tear of gratitude. In Ain's study chamber, he was immersed in a sea of paperwork, each document demanding his attention. Marsh, his loyal aide, advised him not to push himself too hard. However, Ain was determined to finish the last batch of work. After toiling away, he finally completed his tasks and leaned back, feeling a sense of accomplishment. But his moment of relief was short-lived. A faint whisper reached Ain's ear, sending shivers down his spine. He spun around, startled, only to find that the source of the whisper was none other than Klon. With a warm smile, Klon explained that she had finished her studies for the day and had come to check on him. Ain, still somewhat spooked, asked if she could greet him in a more ordinary manner, to which she replied that he hadn't noticed her presence due to his deep concentration. She assured him that she had seen something wonderful, his hard work. Ain blushed slightly in response to her praise. The conversation soon shifted to a celebration for his mother's return, and Klon mentioned that she had received an invitation from the Prime Minister for herself and her grandfather. Ain, however, was hesitant about attending the party, considering there had been no official announcement about his status. Klon reassured him that such announcements were typically made at the last minute. As the evening approached, Ain asked if Klon was heading to bed. She replied that she was actually on her way to the bath and extended an invitation for him to join her, albeit with a teasing tone. Ain, caught off guard, declined her offer, to which Klon chuckled and suggested there might be another time as she walked away. Later, at the celebration party for Olivia's return, Klon arrived a bit late, due to accompanying her grandfather and greeting other guests. Ain was captivated by her appearance and complimented her. Klon graciously accepted his praise and noted that the party was elegant, while Ain expressed his amazement at everything he had experienced in Ishtalika. He shared his delight in experiencing the water train for the first time and marveled at the city's illuminated beauty at night with its carefully treated magic stones. Klon, too, was overwhelmed by the city's culture, finding it markedly different from the Heim Kingdom. Ain mentioned that it was his first time attending such an event, since no official announcements had been made about his status. They engaged in a discussion about when the announcement might come. Ain speculated that it might be made in the spring, just before they enroll in the academy. Klon suggested that he prepare a speech, perhaps taking inspiration from someone he looked up to. Ain, with a sense of growing maturity, expressed his desire to become a ruler like the first king. Amid their conversation, murmurs began to spread at the party about the arrival of an individual from the Heim Kingdom. Gossip and insults circulated, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. Ain, determined to address the issue, considered taking action. However, Klon suggested that they simply should enjoy the party together. She ventured off to get some delicious food, instructing Ain to wait for her. But as time passed, Ain began to worry about her. Warren, the Prime Minister, approached him and inquired about Klon's whereabouts. Ain explained that she had gone to get food. Warren then revealed that the king had prepared a special gift for Ain at the party as a way to make up for his previous experiences in the Heim Kingdom. Suddenly, a loud noise drew the attention of everyone in the room. A plate had fallen to the ground, but Ain had already sprung into action. The commotion had been caused by Klon, who was standing in front of a nobleman who was insulting her for being from the Heim Kingdom. Warren, displeased with the situation, moved to intervene, but he was surprised to find that Ain had disappeared. The nobleman was on the verge of laying hands on Klon to make an example to others when Ain abruptly placed himself between them. He asked if the nobleman had any business with his guest. The nobleman, in disbelief, acknowledged that she was the Prime Minister's guest, but warned Ain not to interfere, as it was common for Ishtalika to harbor hatred for Heim. Many nobles in the room supported the nobleman, their resentment stemming from the mistreatment Olivia had suffered in Heim. Klon reassured Ain that he didn't need to get involved. However, Ain was transported back to his own experiences in Heim, recalling how he and his mother had been treated. He realized that it wasn't Klon's fault, and that the situation was escalating because he lacked influence or power to defend her. Determined to change that, he made a bold declaration. In defense of Klon, Ain stated that if anyone had a problem with Heim, they should direct their hateful comments at him, as he was now associated with Klon. The nobles were shocked and incredulous at his words. The argument between Ain and the nobleman grew heated, with Ain remained calm and collected, while the nobleman resorted to excessive and irrational arguments. In the midst of the dispute, Ain realized that he had been given the opportunity to prove himself after meeting Klon. He apologized for his own weakness, then walked toward a crystal in the room and placed his hand on it. The nobleman warned him that it would be his demise. In a breathtaking spectacle, Ain absorbed the blue crystal and transformed it into a transparent crystal himself. The room fell into stunned silence, and Ain declared that this was evidence of his power and that he would not let any monsters go unchallenged. The platinum he held had once treasured by the first king. He asked everyone if they still believed the pride of Ishtalika was weak. With the king's point of view, upon hearing Ain's words, experienced a sense of nostalgia for the first king, Ain raised his voice confidently, proclaiming as Ain von Ishtalika. He pledged to become a king who would make Ishtalika soar, much like the first king had. The nobles and the entire assembly were left in astonishment at the turn of events. Ain added one final remark, suggesting that they should be able to accept him, and by extension, Klon by his side. In the midst of his emotional outburst, everyone in the room bowed down to Ain, declaring him the crown prince of Ishtalika.
In the grand royal castle, the atmosphere was electric with the celebration of Ain's royal title as the crowned prince. The nobles, dressed in their finest attire, were in high spirits, toasting to the young prince's recent accomplishments. As they sipped on their wine and savored exquisite dishes, they couldn't help but commend Ain's previous heroic acts that had earned him the adoration of the kingdom. Among the crowd, the girls couldn't contain their excitement. They developed quite the crush on the charming prince, drawn to his charisma and gallant demeanor. Their giggles and hushed whispers filled the room, creating a buzz of admiration and intrigue. Meanwhile, unnoticed by the reveling nobles, a man named Warren strolled past, his ears catching snippets of their enthusiastic conversations. A reassuring expression spread across his face as he overheard their praise for Ain. He was genuinely pleased to hear the words of appreciation for the prince, whom he held in high regard. Back at the heart of the royal castle, Ain, the object of all this attention, sat regally upon one of the grand royal chairs. By his side, Clon, his loyal aide, attended to his every need, pouring him a drink with grace and finesse. The prince exuded an air of quiet confidence, seemingly unfazed by the commotion outside. Inside the king's private chambers, the ruler of the realm received an unexpected piece of news. The noble's unanimous praise for Ain had reached his ears, and he couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. The king, a wise and discerning man, realized the significance of this development. Warren, who had delivered the news to the king, explained that the nobles now viewed Ain in a higher and more favorable light, thanks to his noble deeds. Warren was confident that Ain's reputation would naturally spread far and wide, cementing his place as a beloved figure in the kingdom. The king nodded thoughtfully, acknowledging Warren's words. He considered disciplining Ain for not informing him about his plans in advance, but decided against it. He understood that Ain had already endured a challenging time with the Roundheart family and didn't want to add further burdens. As they discussed the matter, the king revealed something intriguing. During Ain's speech at the royal party, he noted that it was the same speech that the first king of the realm had once delivered. This revelation caught Warren by surprise, as he hadn't had a chance to inform Ain of this fact. He assumed that it must have known about the history of the first king, and the connection between their words and deeds added an enigmatic layer to the prince's character. Lady Clon, who had been diligently hitting the books, was set to enroll at the Lieb Female Academy in the upcoming spring. Warren, the bearer of news, had presented her with a trio of intriguing education choices. Firstly, she could follow in Warren's footsteps and become a civil official. The second option was to pursue an education that rivaled even that of a queen. And for the grand finale, she could opt for the role of a princess, wielding substantial influence over the kingdom's subjects. When the king inquired about her decision, Warren's smile hinted at mischief. He revealed that she had chosen all three at once, an ambitious trifecta. The king couldn't contain his laughter, marveling at Clon's choice. As the king cast his gaze towards Ain and Clon, he pondered the promising future of the next generation. Warren concurred, drawing parallels to the historical figures of the first king and princess. With spring's arrival, Ain and Clon found themselves at the royal palace, preparing for their separate journeys. Olivia, Ain's ever-diligent mother, asked if they'd packed everything. Both affirmed that they had, and leaned toward Clon, quietly sharing their promise to excel together. As the day of departure to the academy drew near, Olivia, showing a motherly side, kindly offered to accompany Ain. However, Christina declined the offer, fearing it might cause a scene if Olivia were to be seen at the academy. Olivia was concerned, but Christina reassured Olivia that she would be the one to accompany Ain, putting her worries to rest. In a light-hearted moment, Olivia jokingly remarked that Christina could be a bit ditzy at times, and Ain playfully agreed. Christina, although slightly taken aback, managed to smile. With the time to leave approaching, Clon reminded Ain that they needed to get going, and informed his mother of their departure, and she told him to take care and enjoy his time at school. Ain, grinning, assured her that he would. As they prepared to head out, Ain and Clon exchanged their goodbyes, both eager to embark on their separate journeys to their respective academies. As Ain and Christina made their way to the academy, Ain couldn't shake the feeling of the place being crowded and the thought of experiencing that every day, much like the day he took the entrance exam. Christina, ever the reassuring presence, promised to make sure Aang got to school safely every day. She explained that the road they were on was mainly busy, which was the toughest part of the journey, but once he arrived at his school, he'd find peace. However, Aang couldn't help but wonder if he'd truly feel at ease at Ishtalika's top academy, a thought that made him quite nervous. The grandiose appearance of the academy, with its somewhat royal design, only added to his apprehension. Christina then dropped a surprising piece of news on Aang, informing him that her escort duty ended at this point. She explained that while he was at the academy, another person would be appointed to serve as his bodyguard. Aang was taken aback by the sudden announcement. Christina called for Deal, who promptly made his way towards Ain and knelt before him, greeting him as His Highness. Christina introduced him as Del Galatia, also known as Lloyd and Marcia's son. The introduction left Ain both surprised and curious about the person who would be his new protector at the academy. Ain was utterly taken aback when he learned that Lloyd and Marsh had a son. Christina tried to put his mind at ease, explaining that this son, Dill, was still an apprentice knight and possessed skills beyond his years. She believed that Dill would be more than capable of protecting Ain at the academy. Still reeling from the revelation, Ain couldn't help but ask Christina if Lloyd and Marsh were married. To his surprise, Christina seemed equally shocked that he didn't already know. She clarified that both of them had their own duties at the castle, which likely explained why they kept their private life under wraps. With Dill now present, he introduced himself and expressed his gratitude for being chosen as Ain's bodyguard. Ain was pleased but still somewhat overwhelmed by the new development. Christina also conveyed a message from the king, advising Ain not to use formal language or be overly humble when addressing Dill. The king's intention was for Ain to practice acting as someone of high rank among his peers. Ain realized the wisdom in this and readily agreed, and extended a friendly greeting to Dill, but Dill reacted with a formal and grateful knightly manner, much to Ain's casual surprise. When Ain suggested that he call him by his name, Dill politely declined, emphasizing his role as a bodyguard. In his mind, Ain couldn't help but think that Dill was rather stiff. Christina assured Ain that she'd pick him up after school, and Ain couldn't help but ponder if he might be considered unreliable given the recent troubles he had caused. As they strolled toward their classroom, Ain asked Dill if there was a welcoming party, but Dill explained that there wasn't. He elaborated that classes would end before noon for the day, and he would guide Ain around the academy in the afternoon. Ain was excited about the prospect of the tour and agreed to meet Dill in his classroom. Ain glanced at a classroom door, impressed by its size and magnificence, which he assumed was typical of a royal academy. However, Dill corrected him, indicating that it was the door to the second class. The first-class classroom door was even grander, as it was reserved for top students. Dill explained that the academy prioritized ability above all else, regardless of nobility or commoner status, as it was the Royal Kingsland Academy. Ain, feeling the weight of those words, braced himself for what lay ahead. Before parting ways, Dill assured Ain that he would come and see him later, leaving Ain with a mix of anticipation and a touch of nerves. Ain stood before the classroom door, utterly dumbfounded by its lack of knobs or handles. Just as he contemplated how to open it, the door surprisingly swung open, accompanied by a bright light emitting from the bottom. As Ain entered, he couldn't help but wonder if they'd invested in some sort of automatic door. However, his astonishment grew when he found himself surrounded by his fellow top-class students. Ain mentally noted that typically, there would be around a dozen students in each class. The fact that this appeared to be the entire class put a nervous knot in his stomach. He knew he had to make a good impression or risk failing in his new environment. Taking a seat, the arrival of their teacher, Rook, further piqued Ain's curiosity. Rook introduced himself as their homeroom teacher. He explained that he wasn't originally assigned to their class, but retracted the statement, instructing the students not to worry about it. Rook went on to inform the class that they were part of a special group, and he had high expectations for all of them. With that, he dismissed the students, leaving them slightly bewildered and unsure of how to react. But Rook wasn't done yet. He added that if they managed to impress or achieve significant results, they would be allowed to skip regular classes. However, they still needed to pass the half-yearly exams. With this final statement, he wished the students farewell and encouraged them to seek assistance from other teachers or staff if needed. As the students in the class found themselves in this surprising and rather unusual situation, Ain couldn't help but express his concerns aloud. He noted that they seemed to be given an awful lot of freedom, and his nearby classmate Roland agreed. Roland, with a friendly demeanor, introduced himself and inquired about the kind of magic engineering test Ain had taken for the entrance exam. In his head, Ain couldn't help but wonder about Roland's species or breed, finding him rather cute. Nevertheless, he answered Roland's question, mentioning that he had taken the swordsmanship test. This revelation seemed to excite Roland, who blurted out that Ain was the rumored kid. Unaware of this rumor, Ain listened as Roland explained that during the swordsmanship test, there was a story of an examinee who had defeated a skilled former adventurer and even caused the arena to crumble. The news quickly spread among their classmates like wildfire, leaving in a slight panic as he retracted his statement, attempting to avoid any potential conflicts. He reassured Roland that he was simply carried away by the examiner's words. Roland insisted there was no way to laugh about something like that. Ain was truly amazing. Wanting to continue their conversation, Roland asked for Ain's name, but before Ain could respond, Dill, the sixth-year student and the son of the Grand Marshal, made a dramatic entrance into the classroom. This sudden appearance left Roland baffled, and as Dill drew closer, Roland's initial confusion quickly transformed into panic. With an air of formality, Dill addressed Ain as Your Highness and admitted that he had momentarily forgotten about the free study system for first-year students. The sudden and surprising appearance of the sixth-year student left everyone in the room bewildered and slightly on edge. Dill extended an offer to give him a tour of the academy, if he didn't mind. With a sigh and acknowledged the offer, greeted Roland with a firm handshake and introduced himself. Ain kindly invited Roland to join them, but Roland declined, explaining that he needed to take care of some paperwork with a nervous expression. Ain bid him farewell, and as the door closed, the realization slowly dawned on the other students that Ain was, in fact, the Crown Prince, as Dill guided Ain through the academy, and took the opportunity to ask if Dill would be staying by his side during his time at the academy. He inquired about his classes and training, to which Dill agreed. He assured Ain that he would accompany him as much as possible, though there might be days when he couldn't. Ain was understanding and reassured Dill that it was all right for him to stick to his schedule. However, Dill, ever the serious and dutiful protector, emphasized that his highest priority was Ain's safety. As Ain turned the corner, he spotted a couple of girls and had a sly idea to ask Dill about his type when it came to women. Curiosity fueled his question, and he inquired about Dill's preferences. In his head and was busy strategizing on how to get closer to Dill, but his inquiry made Dill wear a somewhat gloomy expression, wondering why Ain was asking all of a sudden. Ain quickly offered an excuse, suggesting that he wanted to know someone who could protect him better. To this, Dill agreed, opening up a bit about his preferences. He mentioned that he preferred a lady who was stronger than him, though all Ain could think of was Christina, who was undoubtedly strong. Dill added that he'd like someone taller than his father, and with a well-built body. Ain was taken aback by Dill's preferences, but assured him that it might be a challenge to find someone like that, and offered his support. Dill expressed his gratitude, mentioning that every time he had shared his preferences with a friend, they'd always made jokes or laughed. However, hearing Ain's understanding response made him genuinely happy. It was a small step, but Ain was pleased to be closing the gap between them. The two headed to lunch together, and Ain expressed his desire to chat more with Dill. As Ain enjoyed his meal, he couldn't help but imagine sharing lunch with Dill. But to his surprise, Dill acted more like a bodyguard than a fellow student, causing Ain to retreat from his earlier vision of getting closer. Despite the slight setback, Ain remained hopeful that their interactions would continue to progress, even if it was a slow start. At the Lieb Female Academy, Klon found herself surrounded by a group of enthusiastic girls who were fangirling over her and eagerly asking to meet their brothers and cousins. Klon was genuinely touched by their invitations, but she felt the need to clarify that she was just a commoner and wasn't in a position to pursue romantic relationships. However, her humility was met with praise and admiration when the Prime Minister acknowledged Klon and complimented her beauty. Grateful for the offers, Klon explained that she didn't want to cause any trouble for the Prime Minister, as he would be held responsible for any such issues. The girls readily agreed and apologized for rushing in. Although Klon was appreciative of their understanding, she was genuinely touched that they held her in such high regard. She expressed her hope that they could all get along, and the girls enthusiastically agreed. And her thoughts. Klon made a silent vow to work hard and continuously hone her skills and knowledge, aspiring to become the best version of herself that she could be. The future held promise, and Klon was ready to rise to the challenge. At the outskirts of Talika Capital Night Station, a guard was urgently notified of a prison break, prompting all the guards to rush and investigate how the prisoner managed to escape. It was a scene of chaos as they scrambled to assess the situation. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the head guard issued an immediate order to contact the castle and gather all available information about the knights who had been responsible for overseeing the prisoner. The guards were in a desperate rush to comply with the command. As the head guard examined the gathered information, a name on the list caught his eye, and it sent a shiver down his spine. The escapee was none other than the Sloth, a notorious ex-adventurer who had earned a sinister reputation as a vampire. taking countless lives for money. The city was now on edge, knowing that this dark figure was roaming free and likely planning his next target. A week had passed since Ain's enrollment at the academy, and Dill was curious if he felt any dissatisfaction. Ain reassured him that he was perfectly fine, but he couldn't help but ponder the abundance of freedom and what he should focus on next. Ain then asked Dill if he had heard the news about the sudden change in the first-class teacher. Dill's reaction was quite startled as he began to twitch. He carefully explained that the information he was about to share was not for public knowledge, as the former teacher had some problematic issues and ideals that led to his dismissal. Dill revealed that the teacher in question was Wolf Magnus, the third son of a Marquis family with ties to the Glacier Duke family. Wolf had been in charge of the pharmacy and possessed significant knowledge about monster poisons. However, he had a history of discriminating against commoners, which went against the Academy's policies. With Ain's enrollment at the Academy, it was decided that they should inspect the backgrounds of the staff, which ultimately led to Wolf's dismissal. The revelation left Ain with a better understanding of the Academy's commitment to upholding its principles, and Dill's twitchy explanation added a touch of humor to the conversation. Dill casually mentioned that he had helped a bit with the inspection, but he held no trace of Noble's dignity in him. Curious about the status of the dismissed teacher, and asked for more details, and Dill explained that despite his wrongdoings, Wolf still came from an excellent bloodline and was sent to a place for knights, which was, in essence, a high-class prison. Dill expressed his belief that Wolf deserved a harsher punishment, and Ain couldn't help but admire Dill's strong sense of justice. In response, Ain admitted that he couldn't agree with what Wolf had done, being royalty, and believed it wasn't a good idea to use one's status to trample on others, and he vowed not to engage in such behavior in the future. Moreover, he never really thought that commoners and nobles were inherently different in any significant way. Dill found Ain's perspective beautiful and encouraging, but when Ain suggested they speak casually, Dial declined, explaining that his role was that of a bodyguard. Christina picked up Ain from school, and as they made their way, she noticed something ahead. Christina informed Ain that she needed to speak with a patrol guard and asked for permission to leave him for a moment. Ain agreed, and she emphasized that he should stay where he was. As Ain stood there, he couldn't help but observe the crowded surroundings. Suddenly, a commotion in the distance caught his attention. Two girls were being approached by a group of imposing men, and Ain quickly recognized that they wore the same uniform as Clon, suspecting that they attended the same school. The suspicious strangers began to lecture the girls, warning them about the dangers of walking without a guard and offering to be their protectors. The girls declined, but one of the men didn't seem to care and was about to force them into discussing the matter at their home. Ain decided to step in to rescue the girls. He approached the situation and inquired about what was wrong. Ain reassured the girls and told them to leave. One of the men couldn't resist asking what business Ain had to interrupt them, humorously insinuating that he was playing the role of a prince coming to the damsel's aid. In a tense standoff between one of the men and Ain, the man decided to teach Ain a lesson and prepared to strike a punch, warning that he would regret meddling with adults. But to everyone's surprise, Ain smoothly deflected the attack by tapping his forearm and then swiftly twisted the man's arm, causing him to mumble in painful discomfort. Ain pointed out that he had only acted in self-defense, as the man had initiated the attack. The other men finally realized that Ain was wearing the uniform of the Royal Academy, but one of them remained undeterred and moved to attack Ain simultaneously. However, Ain quickly retracted his actions, offering an apology. The men saw this as an opportunity to intimidate him further, considering he seemed scared. But suddenly, their plan was derailed when they were struck with a powerful blow that left all of them unconscious. It was none other than Christina, who had arrived on the scene. She scolded Ain, reminding him that she had explicitly instructed him to stay where he was, although Christina didn't fully grasp how honorable Ain had been in the situation. She noted that he should have called for her instead. Christina wore a fierce look on her face, clearly displeased with the turn of events, and Ain openly agreed with her assessment. Christina assured him that it was fine, as he seemed to understand the situation, but she couldn't help but wonder why he always got into trouble, and explained that he couldn't simply stand by and watch what was about to happen to the girls. Christina, though still concerned, acknowledged Ain's intentions and decided that she would report the matter to the king. Ain was later seen walking with his mother, Olivia, and Christina, after the earlier incident. Christina playfully remarked how fortunate it was that Ain only received a lecture from the king and had to write 50 pages of reflection. Olivia, however, couldn't help but express her concern over Ain's recent actions, and acknowledged his mistakes and admitted that he had genuinely reflected on his actions. Christina then jokingly suggested that Laurel, his grandmother, should also scold. Laurel, who was introduced as the queen of Ishtalica and a dark elf, chimed in, expressing her concern about Ain's actions, and decided to give him a present. And finally realized the purpose of their visit to the treasury. Laurel presented him with a pitch-black dagger, and suggested that it would be great if Ain could absorb a Dullahan's magic stone with it. Ain hesitated, unsure if he was allowed to take such an important national treasure, but Laurel assured him that he was the crown prince, and it was perfectly fine. They encouraged him to hold the blade. Ain cautiously gripped the dagger, only to be pleasantly surprised by how comfortable and natural it felt in his hand, as if it were an extension of his arm. Laurel asked him how it felt, and with a warm smile, Ain thanked his grandmother for the gorgeous gift. Filled with joy, Laurel couldn't contain her affection and hugged her grandson, while Olivia did the same, creating a heartwarming family moment. Later at the royal castle, Ain encountered Clon, who complimented the dagger he now wore, a gift from his grandmother. They engaged in a cute conversation until Kadima interrupted them and informed Ain that she had something important to discuss. Kadima explained that it was regarding the cursed magic stone they had purchased from the store. Ain inquired if she had made any progress, but Kadima, unfortunately, couldn't make any headway in analyzing it. She asked Ain if he had any ideas. Ain suggested checking out the Royal Kingsland Academy's library, where there might be more information available. Kadima mentioned that she had already read all the books about magic stones, but had found nothing on the cursed one. Ain pondered the situation and remarked that they seemed to be stuck. Kadima, in a moment of frustration, called Ain useless. This triggered him, and he responded by playfully grabbing her ears and pinching them, causing Kadima to beg for him to stop. After releasing her, Clon scolded him that he shouldn't resort to violence, and Ain apologized and explained that it was his usual way of dealing with such comments. Kadima then informed them that there was only one option left, for Ain to absorb a small portion of the cursed magic stone as a last resort. Ain, with a slightly annoyed expression, understood that this was likely the outcome Kadima had wanted all along. She assured him that it should be safe to take just a small amount, and if anything went wrong, they could seal the room and destroy the magic stone. Clon expressed her concern for Ain, but he reassured her that he had everything under control and urged her to step back, just in case. As Kadima lifted the case containing the cursed magic stone, Ain felt something unusual, but Kadima assured him that nothing had happened and encouraged him to touch the stone. With nervous anticipation, he reached out and touched the stone, and suddenly a voice declared that it had found him, enveloping them in a bright light. Panicking, Kadima realized she had heard something she shouldn't have, and urgently told Ain to place the stone back in the box. However, to their surprise, Ain's Black Knight power began to manifest in an unexpected way, with phantom hands multiplying to 4 instead of the usual 2. Kadima, in a state of panic, insisted that Ain should return the stone to the box immediately. Ain, however, was unable to control his own body, and it started absorbing the magic stone on its own. Realizing they had no other choice, Kadima decided to leap away with the case and seal the magic stone to protect Ain. Successfully, she managed to seal the magic stone back in its case, but Ain felt a heavy sensation, and both Clon and Kadima noticed that his arm had transformed and was now equipped with an unknown armor. Kadima inquired if Ain had absorbed more than he could handle, but he assured her that he hadn't meant to. He explained that his body had moved on its own and forced him to absorb the magic stone. He recalled Majoli's words about the resonance of magic stones, how it happened with unique stones, and how creatures with magic stones inside them had connections to other creatures while they were alive. In the case of the Dullahans and Demon Lord magic stones, both had a strong resonance with each other. Majoli had explained that in the past, people had witnessed a surge of power when the stones were placed near each other, as if they were resonating to become one. Ain pondered that it was as if the stones were alive, to which Majoli warned him to be careful. Majoli emphasized that the cursed magic stone Ain had purchased from him was not a coincidence. It had caught his eye for a reason, and realized the significance of what Majoli had said about the cursed magic stone. However, their contemplation was abruptly interrupted by a loud knock on the door. It was Christina, concerned about the loud noise she had heard from inside the room. Kadima panicked, Knowing that Christina's fury could be unleashed if she found out about the situation, she urged Ain to make the armor disappear quickly. Kadima also instructed Klon to stall and distract Christina as best as she could while they resolved the issue. Klon went to the door and apologized to Christina, explaining that the room was a bit messy. Christina, familiar with the state of the room, commented that it was always messy and decided to barge in. To their relief, Christina found the trio in the room. Acting as if nothing unusual had occurred, she turned her attention to Kadima and inquired if she had caused another commotion with Ain. Kadima somewhat agreed, and Ain sighed with relief as his metallic armor disappeared just in time. Christina presented a package to Kadima, who eagerly tore it open to reveal a book she had been eagerly anticipating for months. Kadima explained that the book was authored by a famous elf who had dedicated their life to writing about a subject that fascinated her, the Demon Lord. Klon was curious about the book's contents, prompting Kadima to excitedly share that it was written in ancient elf language. Unfortunately, not many elves could read it, and Kadima couldn't help but think that Christina, with the blood of an elf, had spent too much time in the capital, so Kadima decided to find someone else to translate it. As they flipped through the book, they stumbled upon an image of a man who resembled Dullahan. Klon pointed out the resemblance to Ain, and Kadima, frustrated by her inability to read the book, decided to leave. Both Klon and Ain also prepared to depart. Kadima informed Christina that she was leaving and asked her to take care of the packages. However, Christina noticed the book and, to their surprise, was able to read the ancient elf language. She ensured there were no onlookers and continued reading. She came across references to the Elder Leech, but then remembered that she needed to send Kadima's package. At the academy, the teacher handed out a notice about an upcoming Academy District competition. Roland explained that it was an annual event designed to strengthen the relationships between the academies in the district, with categories like speech, swordsmanship, magic, and more. Ain asked which category their class would participate in, but Roland informed him that they wouldn't be participating. The competition was typically reserved for third-class students, as there was a significant gap in ability between the first and second class and others their age. Ain realized why they had been informed of the event just 1 week before, and headed to the training ground, leaving Roland behind to do more research on his end. At the training ground, he encountered the examiner, now known as Instructor Kaiser, who was in charge of swordsmanship. The instructor asked if Ain was ready to face the Red Bison again, and Ain agreed. The instructor couldn't help but notice that not many students of Ain's age could stand up against the Red Bison. As they began their training, Instructor Kaiser made sure Ain was prepared, and Ain was pleasantly surprised by the instructor's caring nature. The training involved facing the Red Bison, but the instructor assured Ain that the monster wouldn't be able to hurt him. He would only feel the pain of the monster's attack. He also made it clear that Ain was responsible for any injuries he might have sustained. Ain wanted to try something different this time, even though he had defeated the bison many times before. When the bison charged at him and threw his sword and caught the bison's horns, he wanted to test the strength difference between them. The two of them struggled, and Ain managed to push the bison away, rendering it unconscious on the ground. Bison felt confident after defeating the bison barehanded, but Instructor Kaiser was not pleased. He scolded Ain for stopping a red bison's charge head-on, emphasizing the importance of coming up with a different approach to avoid such dangerous situations in the future. Ain realized he still had much to learn. After the training, Ain met up with Christina at a restaurant and told her about his exhausting training session. He also shared that he wouldn't be participating in the Academy's competition. To his surprise, Christina mentioned that Dill would be taking part in an exhibition match against the winner of the competition and suggested they should cheer for him on that day, and suddenly found himself looking forward to the event. As Ain glanced around the restaurant, he noticed Klon with her classmates. Klon was surprised to see him, but he acted as if he hadn't noticed her, which made her pout in disappointment. Christina mentioned Klon's reaction, and Ain realized they had sat right beside them, which made him nervous. One of Klon's classmates recalled that they had been saved by the Crown Prince the other day, and Christina whispered to Ain that she was the girl from the other day. Ain casually mentioned what a coincidence it was. Klon's classmates were eager to learn more about the Crown Prince, urging Klon to share more details. Klon happily obliged, stating that, while he might be a bit of a troublemaker, He was a kind and brave person who cared for others. She expressed how happy she was to stay by the prince's side, which caused her classmates to start fangirling over Ain's qualities. Ain felt a bit embarrassed by Klon's remarks, but appreciated the sentiment. Christina offered to stop Klon's classmates from fangirling over Ain if he felt embarrassed, but decided to bear with it for a while. However, when Klon was about to mention the incident with Kadima the other day, and stood up and asked her to kindly stop, this surprised Klon's classmates, who wanted to express their gratitude to Ain for saving them, though Ain believed it wasn't such a big deal. And then asked Klon if she was heading back to the castle, and she agreed, mentioning that she still had homework from the Prime Minister to complete. Ain, extending an invitation, suggested they go back together if she didn't mind. Klon smirked and asked if this was his way of atoning for hiding earlier, to which Ain somewhat agreed. As Klon excused herself in front of her classmates, the girls were left in a trance, finding it hard to believe what had just transpired. Meanwhile, as Dill walked through the academy, he spotted a suspicious figure at one of the gates and approached to investigate. However, the hooded figure suddenly disappeared without a trace. On the day of the Academy District competition, students clashed and battled in various events. Ain stood outside the gigantic arena, eagerly anticipating Dill's performance in the swordsmanship exhibition match. Dill, in a polite manner, informed Ain that he would be taking his leave, and Ain understood, expressing his excitement for Dill's match. However, Ain sensed something off with Dill and asked if he was nervous. Dill was surprised that Aine could tell and inquired how. Ain simply replied that he could see it in Dill's demeanor. Dill, feeling a bit embarrassed, mentioned that he felt bad for showing his weak side. Ain, oddly relieved to see Dill nervous, smirked, noting that he didn't mind if Dill called him by his name. Dill, declining the offer, stated that he was just a bodyguard and couldn't do that. Though Ain was slightly disappointed, he assured Dill that he would try again someday. Dill, however, believed that his response wouldn't change, thanked Ain, and excused himself to head towards the arena. Suddenly, Christina appeared, expressing surprise at Dill showing some expression with Ain. She was pleased that the two were getting along, but Ain still couldn't believe Dill wouldn't call him by his name. Christina then informed Ain that she would escort him to his seat, as the king and Klon were waiting. However, Ain realized he had forgotten the pen his grandfather gave him in the classroom, and insisted on going back to the academy. Christina agreed, assuring Ain that there was still time, and it wouldn't be a problem. As they headed back to the academy, Ain mentioned that he would be back shortly. Walking toward the academy, Ain marveled at its size when no one was around. Suddenly he heard a noise in the distance, unable to identify the source. Pondering whether it was from the cafe terrace, he noticed something rustling behind him and became unsure of what it could be. Meanwhile, in the royal classroom, an unknown assassin captured one of the students, expressing annoyance at the student being not on holiday. Roland, the captured student, explained that all he wanted was to retrieve his forgotten belongings from the classroom, emphasizing that it would not benefit the assassin to keep him captive. Surprisingly, the assassin agreed, stating that he had no intentions written in the contract, and promised to release Roland later. Relieved, Roland sighed, thinking the ordeal was over. However, the assassin suddenly changed his mind, grinning with another mischievous idea. He declared that he would take Roland as loot for the mission. In an instant, he began to strangle Roland, who struggled to hang on. The assassin, claiming to be a vampire who hadn't drunk any blood for weeks, expressed his interest in tasting the blood of a werewolf, something he had never experienced before. He mentioned his difficulty in restraining himself and ominously declared his intention to suck Roland's blood dry and end him afterward. A tear dropped from Roland's face as the assassin laughed menacingly. Suddenly, Aine stormed into the classroom, sensing the weird energy emanating from the academy. He found Roland panting, struggling to speak as the assassin held him by the neck. Aine, with a fierce look, demanded to know what the assassin was doing to his friend. The surprised assassin, seeing a kid, wondered what happened to his comrades outside. Aine coolly explained that he defeated them because they were blocking his way to the classroom, ordering the assassin to release his classmate. The assassin, irritated and enraged, couldn't believe he was being thwarted by a kid, and found his subordinates useless. Aine suggested that it wouldn't be troublesome if the assassin simply surrendered. However, the assassin, not willing to return to prison, declined, labeling himself not an idiot. Faced with no other option, Aine decided to take matters into his own hands. He grabbed his dagger and launched himself at the assassin, determined to bring him down by force. With a precise slash, Ain managed to pierce the assassin's arm, causing Roland to break free from his grip. Ain swiftly caught his friend, shielding him from further harm. The assassin acknowledged Ain's speed, prompting Ain to press for answers about his identity and motives. The assassin revealed that he was hired by a vengeful noble, with a grudge against the Academy. Ain, eager to know the noble's identity, was left hanging as the assassin abruptly ended the conversation, deploying a smoke bomb. Caught off guard, Ain struggled to locate the assassin, who, being an experienced ex-adventurer, proved to be elusive. A sudden kick landed on Ain, pushing him back. Realizing the difficulty in tracking the assassin, Ain understood he was at a disadvantage. Recalling Christina's advice about not revealing his powers recklessly, Ain weighed his options. He knew it could be risky if others discovered his abilities, but he couldn't let his friend suffer. Amidst the swirling smoke, the assassin confidently threatened to cut Ain and drink his blood. However, Ain turned the tables with an unexpected attack, using one of his phantom hands to deliver a powerful blow that left the assassin bewildered. Ain continued to rain down strikes until the classroom suffered some collateral damage. Frustrated by the dissipating smoke, the assassin realized he had underestimated Ain. In a bad mood, Ain admonished the assassin for the harm done to Roland and vowed to catch him. The assassin, recovering from Ain's hits, warned Ain not to get too cocky, asserting that he was taking adults too lightly. In the midst of their intense battle, Ain and the assassin clashed fiercely, each struggling to gain the upper hand. Just as the assassin was poised to deliver a finishing blow, a surprise appearance of another phantom hand caught him off guard. The unseen force unleashed a barrage of powerful blows, leaving the assassin battered and bewildered, contemplating how a mere kid possessed such formidable power. As the assassin lay defeated on the ground, Ain breathed a sigh of relief. Turning his attention to his classmate Roland, who was understandably shocked, Ain assured him that everything was okay. Ain, however, was fortunate that Roland hadn't witnessed the full extent of his hidden powers. Roland, intrigued and concerned, questioned the motives of the assassin, while Ain, equally curious, tried to piece together the puzzle. Ain recalled the assassin's claim about being hired by a vengeful noble, and with a peculiar scent lingering from the cafe's terrace, he began to connect the dots. Realization struck him, and he urged Roland to ensure his safety and inform Christina to head to the terrace immediately. With a sense of urgency, Ain rushed to the cafe's terrace only to find a casually seated figure, none other than the recently fired ex-teacher, aka Wolf Magnus. Despite the suspicious circumstances, Wolf greeted the Crown Prince with an air of mischief. Ain, relying on intuition, pointed out that a noble like Wolf might harbor a grudge against the Academy. When questioned about his intentions, Wolf feigned ignorance. Ain, using his keen senses, detected the scent of multiple magic stones beneath the lake, and promptly deduced Wolf's plan. Ain shared his insight, citing his familiarity with someone who frequently caused explosions. With a sly smile, Wolf, impressed by Ain's deduction, acknowledged the Academy's corruption and the government's flaws. He emphasized the diminishing boundary between commoners and nobles, expressing his desire for revenge against those associated with the Academy. Wolf aimed to demonstrate who truly held power and intended to teach a lesson to the first son of the Glacier family, the one who reported him. His intentions to destroy the Academy, apologizes and asserts his love for both Ishtalika and the Academy, vowing to stop Wolf's plans. Despite Ain's plea for understanding, Wolf remains resolute, describing the impending explosion as a powerful blow that would reduce the Academy to bits. Wolf revels in the chaos he's about to unleash, declaring his intent to destroy everything and rebuild Ishtalika in his own image, deeming it a revolutionary moment. Ain, perplexed by Wolf's talk of revolution and controlling Ishtalika, couldn't grasp the concept of its true and righteous form. Despite the confusion, Ain lunged at Wolf with his dagger, aiming for a decisive strike. However, the situation took an unexpected turn as multiple explosions erupted around Ain, forcing him to step back and assess the danger. Ain, considering the possibility of a shockwave or a magical tool, warned Wolf that staying would mean getting caught in the explosion, and questioned whether he was truly willing to die. Wolf, confident in his protective jewels and magic tools, revealed his plan to watch Ishtalika fall and rise to revolution from a special seat. However, Ain, quick to adapt, changed his approach. He leaped towards Wolf, targeting the jewels and with a precise slash, destroyed them. Wolf, now irritated, retaliated with a series of explosions, but Ain remained unfazed. Ain, unimpressed by Wolf's defense mechanisms, urged him to surrender. Ignoring Wolf's complaints about having a mountain of things to do, Ain continued to pursue him, eventually thrusting the handle of his dagger into Wolf and inflicting him considerable pain. Having defeated Wolf, Ain asserted that Wolf's wishes would not come true. Determined to prevent the explosion, Ain quickly tied up the defeated Wolf to ensure he wouldn't escape. In a rush, Ain stripped off his clothes, preparing to jump into the lake. Wolf, lacking faith in Ain's ability to defuse the bomb, only increased the timer countdown for the explosion. Without hesitation, Ain leaped into the lake. As he submerged beneath the water, Ain discovered a large box of magic stones, recognizing it as the likely energy source for the bomb, and acknowledged that defusing the bomb might be impossible. However, with his absorption skill, he hoped to have a chance at success, attempting to absorb the energy from the magic stones. Ain experienced a peculiar taste sensation. While he found it delicious in small amounts, the mixture of a large quantity was disgusting. Fortunately, the magic stones began to fade, prompting Ain to rush back to the land. Gasping for breath due to the lack of oxygen in his lungs, he felt relieved that he had managed to defuse the bomb in time. Christina spotted Ain and rushed towards him, expressing concern about his well-being. Ain reassured her that he was fine, expressing his frustration with magic stones. Wolf Magnus, surprised that Ain successfully defused the bomb, offered a menacing praise to the Crown Prince. Christina, in response, urged the guards to take Wolf away and requested Ain to explain everything in detail. Ain, still puzzled, considered that if Wolf had planted a bomb at the bottom of the lake, there must be more to his plan. Recalling Wolf's intentions, he realized that targeting the academy wouldn't achieve Wolf's true goal. If Wolf truly wanted to cause widespread destruction, he would have aimed for a day when important people were gathered, such as the day of the competition. Ain realized that the placement of everyone in one area was no coincidence and deduced that there might be more than one bomb. As Wolf walked away with a menacing grin and laugh, he praised the Crown Prince, confident that Ain wouldn't be able to defuse the bombs in time. Christina, furious, confronted Wolf about the bomb's location, but Ain clarified that it was likely at the arena. Christina, determined, offered to stop the bomb herself and urged Ain to evacuate, but Ain refused. He insisted that he was the only one who could defuse the bombs and emphasized that running away would put everyone he cared about in danger. Overwhelmed by Ain's resolve, Christina had no choice but to accompany him, supporting his efforts as they rushed to find the next bomb. Meanwhile, at the Academy District competition, Dill suffered a hit and lost a point. As the King and Lloyd observed the ongoing competition, they noted that both competitors had scored 1 point each. The King, trying to analyze the situation, mentioned that Dill's opponent was his childhood friend. However, he dismissed the idea that Dill would have any trouble handling the match. Dill, panting and looking around, realized that Ain was nowhere to be seen. He recalled Ain's anticipation for his exhibition match, and found it unusual for Ain to break a promise. As the third round of Dill's exhibition match began, he couldn't shake the worry that something might have happened to Ain. Preoccupied with these thoughts, Dill struggled to focus on the match and move forward against his opponent. In their frantic search for the bomb, Christina and Ain raced through the city. Christina, keenly observing the crowded surroundings, suggested that the bomb might be set up at the back gate. However, Ain was clueless about the location of the back gate. Curious, Ain inquired if there was anything special about it. Christina explained that the back gate was rarely used since the train station was constructed for the Academy District. She mentioned a wide park and a bronze statue of the first king near the back gate. Ain, suddenly enlightened, realized that the bomb might be near the bronze statue. With a sense of urgency, they bolted as fast as they could toward the potential location. Arriving at the back gate near the statue of the first king, Ain alerted Christina to a strong smell emanating from the bushes beneath the statue. Suddenly, a burst of bright light emerged from the bushes, indicating that the bomb was about to explode. Despite Ain's realization that they were too late, Christina is determined to change their fate and utilizes her wind magic to catapult Ain towards the bushes, placing her trust in Ain's capabilities to defuse the bomb. Ain, with a determined and slightly exhausted expression, sailed through the air, betting that he would make it in time, while Dill seemed to be struggling against his opponent. The opponent couldn't understand why Dill kept looking away. However, Dill's opponent was confident that he would be the one to defeat Dill and become the strongest in the Academy District. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed through the arena, and it was none other than Ain, arriving just in time. Ain shouted words of encouragement to Dill, urging him to win. With newfound determination, Dill regained his composure and declared that he would be the one to win the match. He ended the fight with a glorious strike, leaving everyone astounded and in joyous celebration as Dill emerged victorious. As Ain walked down to congratulate Dill, Dill was surprised and curious to know what had happened.
As a reward for the previous event with Wolf, the king of Ishtalika has permitted Ain to go out shopping in Castle Town. Christina and Klon accompany him. Ain worries that he might have bought too many clothes for himself as he doesn't want to overspend on expensive things. However, Christina points out that since Ain is the crown prince, wearing cheap things won't suit him. Suddenly, a cold gust of wind makes Ain shiver, and this makes him wonder if he might need some warm clothes for the winter. Klon lauds the beauty of the harbor's crescent shape. However, Christina points out that there is an awful number of reefs near the open sea. She narrates that the continent became like this after the monster attack. Christina becomes solemn and adds that the monster is really mighty and has the power of controlling the waves of the sea. The monster is called the Sea Dragon. Christina further tells him that the Sea Dragon sank countless ships and tens of thousands of people have become its victims. She declares that in Ishtalika's spanning history, the Sea Dragon is only second to the Demon Lord for the most human casualties. Christina mentions that the monster appears in a cycle of roughly 100 to 200 years. When Klon shows signs of anxiousness, Christina assures her that compared to that time, their country has developed many technical abilities and is prepared for any future assault. Later, the ladies also visited an exclusive store for women, where Laurel, Ain's grandmother, usually shops. Ain remembers to buy something special for someone. After a few days, the whole castle celebrates Ain's 8th birthday, and everyone, especially the king of Ishtalika, is rejoicing. Meanwhile, Olivia presents Ain a pen with Ishtalika's coat of arms engraved on it, and Klon gives him a silver bracelet. Ain wonders why Christina hasn't attended his party. Suddenly, Olivia and Klon urge Ain to go to the balcony, and there, to his surprise, Christina appears, making lame excuses for her late appearance. She then presents him with a scarf, all teary-eyed, and wishes him a happy birthday. It dawns on Ain that on the day they went shopping, Christina exclusively bought a scarf for him just because he was feeling very cold that day. However, Christina completely denies it and fumbles uncomfortably that she hasn't bought anyone a present before. Hilariously, she throws a tantrum when Ain begins to chuckle. It is then Ain also presents her with a beautiful necklace that he bought earlier for someone special. He tells her that she is special because she has always taken care of him. It's really funny how Christina creates a fuss about being given too much importance, and she blushes furiously. One fine day, Ain warns Bats that a creature is coming towards him. Bats immediately takes a leap and finishes off that creature by swinging his sword at the target. Bats brags about his grand movement when Leonardo comes along and reminds him that it was because of Ain he was able to make that move. Ain ponders that due to a certain event, he and his 3 friends have gathered on a solitary island close to the coast of the Ishtalika continent. The story moves to a month earlier when the class teacher announces that there will be a field trip at the beginning of the year. The teacher begins to give instructions that the first and second classes would form teams having 4 members each. The goal of each group is to cross a specifically assigned island on foot in the span of 3 days. The teacher adds dramatically that the only obstruction is that there are monsters on that island. The teacher specifies that initially, all the supplies like food, magic, tools, etc. will be provided to them so they don't have to bring anything on their own. The teacher allows each student to choose his own team. In this way, Ain forms the team with Roland, Bats, and Leonardo, who thankfully approach him by themselves as our poor little prince still lacks confidence in himself. Bats admits that Professor Rook really scared him a lot, but he feels that since they are a group of toppers, they can easily pin down any monster they want. However, Dill Glacier, their group escort, warns him not to be overconfident as monsters may not be the only threat they will be facing. They begin their journey, and when it gets darker, Ain asks Leonardo to set up a camp. Leonardo uses his magic and a huge seal formation emerges beneath their feet. Ain praises the individual's impressive barrier skills expressing confidence that it's sufficient to fend off the looming monster threat. Ain is satisfied with the rabbit that will serve for food purposes, but they are unable to find clean water. This is where Roland offers to use his purifying skills. Dill warns Roland that he is not supposed to bring any magic tools, however. Roland clarifies that he will purify the water at this moment. Soon he adjusts the vector of the magic stones that the monsters drop and then changes it to purification magic. He then drops the stone into the muddy water, and Bat says that he has never tasted such amazing water before. Ain wonders whether it is that easy to create magic tools. Ain thinks that his current team is a successful one with Bats as the fighter, while Leonardo and Roland are the back support. Bats then take out some bizarre kinds of fruits but are not sure whether they are edible. This is where Ain uses his poison absorption skills and finds out that the fruits are quite edible. However, it can be seen that he doesn't reveal his skill to his team members. Soon they prepare a roast rabbit and invite Dill to join them. Graciously accepting, the individual then presents a bag of tea leaves. There is an argument between all about adhering to ground rules. However, Bat says that it is more important to enjoy the event. Soon the guys tease Leonardo for getting engaged. Hilariously, Ain cries because he thought Leo and he were such good friends, and he didn't tell him first. They all have a merry time eating and making jokes. The next day they begin their journey amidst thick fog, and Bats warn all of them not to get separated. The fog is so dense that they can't even see their own feet. This is where Roland is about to have an accidental fall from a steep cliff when his friends grab his hand. Suddenly, Ain realizes that Dill has gotten lost, and then they are ambushed by crow butterflies, monsters that are not supposed to be on this island. Roland asks about the level of danger the flies pose. Bats tells him that they are weaker than red bison, but they always act as a swarm, so their numbers are dangerous. Both Bats and Ain begin to ward off those threatening flying monsters. Bats warns Roland to keep the flies off his tail, as Roland's body will be paralyzed and the flies will lay eggs on it. The team decides to escape while Ain and Bats protect their front and back respectively. At some distance, the team is relieved to be able to shake them off. Bats condemns Ain for shouting out earlier, as that attracted crow flies towards them. However, Ain says that he was really worried about Dill, that's why he lost his cool. Roland assures Ain that Dill will be fine, as he is one of the strongest students in the academy. Leonardo, inquisitive as ever, questions Ain about Christina's secretive protective role. Ain swiftly denies it, explaining that Christina is, in fact, out with his mother on some business. Soon they decide to progress as much as they can in the 2 days and manage to successfully hide from those treacherous crow butterflies. Later they come across a clearing and decide to rest there for that day, as they are exhausted to the core. As Ain contemplates camping in a nearby cave, Bats swiftly shoots down the idea, citing the potential cave hazards. According to him, these caves could be filled with old magic or monster corpses, brewing a cocktail of trouble waiting to happen. He adds further that the miasma formed is poison to anything but the ones that live there in the first place, both humans and beasts. While all his friends have called the night, Ain is sitting by the bonfire thinking about Dill, and the crow flies when suddenly an idea strikes him by recalling Roland's story. He abruptly awakens Roland and asks for one of his magic stones in order to store miasma. The next morning, they are again ambushed by a sea of crowflies. Ain is carrying that magic stone filled with miasma, and he asks Leonardo to form a barrier around them. Leonardo obeys, and meanwhile, he is creating one. A crowdfire captures Bats but is saved in time by Ain. Soon the barrier is formed, and the team members are thankfully secured by the vicious attacks of the flying monsters. This is when Ain goes outside the barrier and throws that miasma-filled stone toward the beasts, thus killing them all. However, he himself remains unaffected for obvious reasons. It is then he reveals to his friends that he has poison resistance skills, to their astonishment. Later they reach the designated peninsula, where Dill is already waiting for them. Dill lauds all of them for efficiently taking care of the monsters, and Ain predicts all of that was plotted by his grandfather, the king of Eshtalaka. Dill affirms that and says that it was because the king wants him to grow more, fancy putting the crown heir's life in danger. Dill reveals that all that time Christina was hiding to ensure Ain's safety. This proves that Bats is a great forecaster. Dill, in a fit of guilt, offers a heartfelt apology to Ain for causing him distress. In response, Ain, with a mischievous twist, assigns Dill the punishment of using his name, claiming it to be the ultimate torment, although Ain knew it wouldn't work and mentioned that he would try again another time. But Dill, with a sudden change of mood, utters that calling his name would be disrespectful to the crown prince, and asks a favor from Ain that they should get along together from here on out, as he calls his name, which surprises Ain. He was dumbfounded, and everyone started to smile and laugh at the playful atmosphere. Ain, feeling happy, uttered that it was simply an anticlimactic situation and understood Dill while forgiving him. As their field trip wraps up, Ain hops on a ship with Christina for the journey home. Amid their casual chatter, a sudden loud thud rocks the ship, sending tremors through the air. A man informs Christina about the beast in the sea. Christina begins to observe that the beast is larger than the ship they are in. Its large fins are in proportion to its body. Long, sharp fangs that seem like they can crush a small ship within a bite. Ain immediately recognizes the beast as the sea dragon, however. The sea dragon doesn't chase their ship, and even after a few months, the sea dragon doesn't step up. It has been 6 months since the day the sea dragon showed up. So Ain's days are pretty much ordinary and pass in studies and training. Ain has turned 9 years old and has advanced to his 3rd level without any problem. One fine day, he's taking a stroll with Christina after school, when almost abruptly Christina adjusts his crooked necktie with a flushed face. What the lady is up to is not clear. Amid the scene, a guard discreetly shares a secret with Christina, prompting her sudden departure. Ain is confused and insists a guard tell him what is going on. The guard reveals to him that a monster identified as a national crisis has appeared, and Christina has been sent to deal with it. A siren of danger rings in Ain's ears. Ain barges into the conference room in order to see his grandfather, and there he finds Olivia and his grandfather having serious talks with many other higher officials. Ain notices that the number of knights in the castle is low and all the people seem worried sick. This is when the king breaks to him that there are actually 2 sea dragons to be dealt with. The king is worried about the casualties it will cause. He adds that he had to act fast to avoid further destruction, so for that he sent Christina. Ain shouts at the top of his lungs that if the monster is so hazardous, then Christina is sent alone to fight it, and they must fight with all the castle's military power. The king calms him down and tells him that all their naval power, which boasts of lots of firepower, is sent. Not only that, but 90% of the knights have been consulted, and adventurers are also requested to join that battle. It can be seen how valiant our prince is, as just by thinking about the sea dragon paralyzes him with fear. But then he musters up all his courage and informs his grandfather that he will be going to Magna to fight with the sea dragon along with Christina. The king condemns him for this decision, and Lloyd reminds Ain that he is now a prince, as his body is not the only thing that is owned. Ain reasons that he cannot sit and wait like this, and if it were the first king, then he would fight against it. In a twist of events, the king reluctantly concedes, only for Lloyd to unexpectedly strike Ain's spinal cord, rendering him unconscious. Olivia, rightfully enraged, catches the king's attention. In a bid to control the situation, the king commands Marsh to remove Olivia, while giving Lloyd strict instructions to place Ain in Kadima's room. It can be seen that Ain is put under house arrest, where he tries his best to get out, but no one is answering his call. Out of frustration, he wonders why he is unable to use Phantom Hand's magic. He is very much worried about Christina fighting 2 monsters when Kadima asks him to calm down and informs him that a powerful seal that makes magic ineffective has been cast in her room. Kadima asks him to be patient and pray for Christina's safe return. He begins to pray silently when he gets a signal from God to look closely around the room. He suddenly finds the cursed magic stone placed in a glass cubicle. Kadima tries his level best to stop him, but Ain apologizes to her and takes out the stone from the cubicle. Suddenly, massive tentacles emerge out of Ain, which makes one wonder how a little boy like Ain can balance those gigantic phantom hands. Kadima wonders how Ain is unable to use the magic within the seal, and then it clicks to her that he is using the cursed stone. She attempts to pull Ain away, but to her surprise, he skillfully paralyzes her body. Ain feels like he has been hugged and caressed by a god, as the feeling is very warm and sweet as he hugs the cursed stone. To Kadima's horror, Ain has absorbed all the curse of the stone, making it as pure as crystal. Kadima warns him that the stone can get out of control like before, but Ain doesn't listen to her and breaks off the seal. Soon he gets out of the room, only to be isolated by Klon. He promises her that he will return, so she pecks him on his cheek and says that it is from the goddess. He then goes ahead only to face a much bigger hurdle, that is Lloyd with his troops. Ain tells him that he is just going for a stroll at the harbor. Ain and Lloyd have a face-off where Lloyd charges toward him with his sword while Ain wards him off with restrictive magic. It seems that he has suddenly gotten a surge and Lloyd gives up, allowing Ain to do whatever he wants but not to forget that he has a huge responsibility on his shoulders. After crossing the maze-like castle, Ain finally breathes fresh air when Dill comes along and offers to accompany him wherever he goes, because although he serves Ishtalika but personally, he is his servant. Dill then explains to him how they will get to Magna, but Ain points out that the said route is very long. Dill then urges Ain to overwrite the king's current regular order that he put out. Ain as the crown's heir has every right to do so. However, if Ain is caught doing so, he can be exiled from the royal family. Ain decides to take the risk and run the water train all by himself. He expresses gratitude to Dill for planting an idea in his mind, while Dill responds with a sigh. The sea dragon has broken havoc in the town, however. Christina orders her troops that the dragon's magic stone is on its forehead, and if they manage to break it, then they will win. A distraught Christina is fretting that they managed to injure just one dragon, and with this only they lost half of their people. She feels that the sea dragon is about to ambush, so she asks the cannons to be fired. The cannon balls hit the target, knocking off the magic stone of the monster. The soldiers are elated, but Christina reminds them that they managed to kill one out of 2 dragons and they must not let their guard down. Meanwhile, the same dragon tries to bite off Christina's ship before dying, even if its magic stone is depleted. As the looming threat of the next sea dragon intensifies, Christina, in a sudden move, vanishes into a thick fog. Soon she comes to know that the fog is created by Ain, who used it to impair her vision. Will you please keep out of it? Christina urges Ain to go back because he can get hurt. However, he proudly announces that he is Ain, the order of the royal family. He pleads for support from others to fight against the sea dragon. He asks Christina to obediently execute his orders. Christina has no choice but to do so. Ain puts her in charge of the ships. Meanwhile, he begins his battle with the sea dragon. He draws out his phantom hands and puts them inside the dragon's mouth. Suddenly, the sea dragon stops roaring and Ain chuckles that the training with Red Bison came in handy. He then decides to absorb the sea dragon's magic stone, dry with the help of Straw of Darkness. It can be seen that the poor lad is absorbing poison in his mouth because he still cannot see the end of the poison in the sea dragon. He then decides to use the technique underwater, and he feels that his strength is leaving him, but he tries to resurrect his powers. He decides to use the poison sucked into the magic stone into magic again, and the whole thing is definitely boggling our minds. He then stabs his dagger into the forehead of the monster, which leads to a deafening roar that echoes throughout the city, and everyone knew that the sea dragon had been defeated. The sea dragon's defeat took its toll on Ain, rendering him unconscious, his protective amulet, having given its all, shattered into pieces, signaling the extent of its effort to safeguard its wearer, with Ain nowhere in sight. Christina, displaying a surprising blend of determination and impulsiveness, swiftly sheds her armor and plunges into the ocean depths. Miraculously, she locates the unconscious Ain, a mix of relief and sadness washing over her as she assesses his condition in the watery embrace. After a spell of unconsciousness, Ain finally opens his eyes, only to discover that his body isn't cooperating due to the injuries. In true Ain fashion, he takes it in stride, noting the unfortunate situation with a wry smile. Christina and Dill, standing by his side, display a mix of shock and relief at Ain's awakening. Despite Ain feeling a bit numb, he's optimistic, doubting that he'll be paralyzed for life. Dill, still processing the situation, marvels at Ain's nonchalant attitude toward his injuries. Christina, on the other hand, engages in her usual fussing. Ain, in his usual cool manner, explains that surviving a 50-50 situation is a stroke of luck. Christina, not buying into luck, points dramatically to Ain's chest. Ain then notices that the ruby he received from Warren has shattered into pieces, a signal that the protective stone did its job in saving him from near death. Ain, realizing the gravity of the situation, acknowledges that he could have died if not for the protective stone. Christina, moved to tears, expresses her fears about what might have happened if Ain didn't make it. He's taken aback by her sudden emotional shift, listens as Christina earnestly requests that he avoid putting himself in such perilous situations. Ain, being the gentleman he is, apologizes and agrees to her plea. However, in a twist of mood, Ain, with a grin, informs Christina that the sea dragon's magic stone was a culinary delight, exquisitely complex flavors of the sea, intensified. Ain's whimsical chatter about the sea dragon's magic stone left both Christina and Dill utterly baffled. Christina, in a surprising turn, burst into laughter at Ain's unexpected topic. Just as they were digesting Ain's peculiar musings, a guard chimed in with the news that they were nearing the capital, en route to the castle. Dill couldn't shake off the worry about potential consequences for defying the king's orders. Thoughts of a possible death sentence loomed, but deep down, he harbored no regrets. Serving Ain brought him genuine happiness. Meanwhile, Ain, taking a glance from the balcony, spotted a massive crowd of citizens below, celebrating his triumphant return. The crowned prince was back, and the capital was alive with joy and festivity. Warren, the ever-efficient guide, welcomed the young prince with a nod and directed Ain to follow him. The destination? A meeting with none other than Ain's granddad, the king, who eagerly awaited his audience. As he stepped into the royal presence, the king, amidst the chaos of kingly duties, took a moment to congratulate Ain. He commended Ain's initiative in defeating the sea dragons, ensuring the safety of Ishtalika. Warren chimed in, extending congratulations for Ain's epic battle, highlighting the sea dragon's corpse as a jackpot, 20 times the national budget. The king, in awe of the zero predicted damages thanks to the extermination squad, led by Christina, hailed Ain as a true hero. Ain basked in the glory of praise from the king, feeling like a star in his own royal drama. However, the mood took a turn when the king mentioned the collateral damage caused by Ain's actions. A royal water train and a nearly obliterated ship. Just as the king was about to spill the beans on Ain's supporters, Dill, with a mix of courage and readiness, admitted it was him. But Ain, ever the brave soul, cut in like a knight with a revelation. He boldly confessed that he alone manipulated the royal order to make Dill follow his lead. Ain insisted that if anyone were to face consequences, it should be him. Lloyd, witnessing Ain's valor, took it up a notch, kneeling and bowing. He offered to take the punishment, claiming he failed as a marshal to stop Ain. In a twist that left Ain and Dill dumbfounded, the king erupted in laughter. Turns out he had no intention of punishing Dill. With a wave of his royal hand, the king cleared Ain of criminal charges, citing his recent accomplishments. A sigh of relief swept through Ain, only to be replaced by the king's decision. 2 months of house arrest at the castle. But the royal pronouncements didn't end there. Lloyd got a demotion from marshal to the king's exclusive escort, while Christina, with her stellar service, was promoted to the new marshal. The king, feeling the weight of his royal duties, declared the meeting over. However, Warren, ever the forward thinker, realized the impending storm with his mother and Clawn. Now faced with unexpected repercussions, couldn't help but be shocked by the impending reprimands he was about to endure. The royal drama unfolded with a mix of laughter, sighs, and the looming storm of familial disapproval. As Ain walks through the castle halls, he encounters Clawn, who's doing her best to hide the fact that she's been shedding a few tears. Ain, the observant soul he is, sees through her act. Clawn, insisting it's just relief that he kept his promise to return, suddenly clenches her fist and playfully jabs it into Ain's chest, a silent admission of the worry she'd been harboring. Ain, catching on, offers a heartfelt apology. After a brief but meaningful embrace, Clawn shifts the conversation to more pressing matters. She asks if Ain has visited his mother yet. He confesses he hasn't, wanting to meet Clawn first. However, she urges him to go immediately, hinting at the seriousness of the situation, bracing himself. Ain heads to his mother's room, announcing his presence with a knock. To his surprise, he opens the door to a scene straight out of a magical jungle, with tree roots sprawling everywhere. Olivia, his mother, emerges in relief that he's unharmed. Ain, understandably baffled, questions the root situation. Olivia, in a mix of embarrassment and stress, dismisses it as something he shouldn't witness. As Olivia gently touches Aine's cheek, concern etched on her face, Aine experiences an unexpected emotional release. Tears stream down his face, a mystery to both mother and son. Olivia, in a tender moment, reassures him. She praises his safe return and encourages him to let go of any suppressed feelings. In Kadima's room, our hero Aine found himself on the receiving end of Kadima's disapproval. She wasn't thrilled about Aine's crown prince antics. Restricting her body and absorbing a cursed magic stone, a big no-no. Aine, realizing his royal mess-up, offered a sincere apology. After a round of Kadima's magical first aid, she inquired about Aine's well-being. Aine, with his usual positive flair, claimed his arm felt as good as new. However, Christina, playing the nurturing card, insisted on providing care until he reached peak health. Just as things seemed to settle, Kadima, with a dramatic paw on Aine's shoulder, commanded him to check his status card. Curiosity bubbled up as Kadima sought insight into Aine's newfound powers. As they huddled to inspect the status card, Christina and Kadima were treated to a spectacle of impressive numbers, thanks to the National Treasure magic stones. Aine, hoping for a higher score, couldn't hide a hint of disappointment. Kadima reassured him that power gains take time. Yet, Aine, fixated on a peculiar detail, questioned why his job title was named. Kadima, bewildered at the unexpected boost in strength, Aine discovered a new addition to his repertoire, the ocean current, likely a gift from the sea dragon. As if that weren't enough, he stumbled upon another gem, the great sorcery. Kadima, the resident expert, nearly dropped her cup of tea upon hearing this, revealing that it was a high-class monster magic skill that was thought to be extinct. Christina, always the encyclopedia of unexpected knowledge, chimed in. She nonchalantly linked the great sorcery to the elder lich. Aine and Kadima, wearing matching expressions of surprise, couldn't fathom how Christina knew this juicy tidbit. Kadima, in her usual fiery manner, demanded an explanation, and Christina, with a nervous expression, spilled the nostalgic beans. She had casually read it in Kadima's old elven letters. The revelation left both Aine and Kadima dumbfounded, and Kadima, not one to shy away from expressing her annoyance, wondered aloud why Christina hadn't shared this bombshell earlier. Moving on from the mild drama, Christina pointed to an image and spun a tale of the elder lich, a monster power couple, as it turned out. The Elder and Dullahan were tag-teaming in support of the Demon Lord, even throwing in some real estate development for good measure, and found himself intrigued by the mysterious union of a dagger and a cursed magic stone. As he pondered the significance, memories of a married couple's magic stone lingered in his mind, prompting a curious quest for understanding. Just as Aine was lost in thought, a sharp knock echoed through the door to his surprise. It was none other than Klon. Klon revealed that a messenger from the August Company had urgently summoned Christina and Lloyd to the harbor. The reason? Well, it was a bit fishy. Christina, being the sharp-minded soul she was, questioned the logic behind heading to the harbor. Why not let the August Company deal with the Sea Dragon debacle themselves? Klon admitted she hadn't heard specifics, but mentioned something about an egg-shaped object discovered in the Sea Dragon's corpse. And so, with uncertainty hanging in the air like a magician's cloak, heading toward the harbor, the trio of Christina, Lloyd, and a band of soldiers found an unexpected addition to their entourage, none other than the Crown Prince himself. The group's mission was simple yet perplexing. Lloyd aimed to confirm the nature of the sea dragon's egg. Graff, the skeptic of the crew, sought assurance from both Lloyd and Christina. With a flourish, Graff presented the egg-like object, only to have it rudely interrupt the meeting by hatching. Instantly, battle-ready vibes filled the air. Lloyd, the voice of reason, declared that whatever emerged should be kept far from Aine. Christina, always in sync with Lloyd, nodded in agreement. Aine, seemingly aware of the impending chaos, nonchalantly acknowledged the situation. As the egg cracked open, the unexpected guests were revealed, not one, but two adorable baby sea dragons. Cue the AWs from the onlookers. However, the cuteness took a dark turn when Lloyd, ready to brandish his sword, and Christina, stern-faced, were set on dispatching the sea dragon offspring. Aine, sensing trouble, intervened, expressing doubt and asking Lloyd to hold off. Approaching the baby sea dragons with a smile, Ain performed a surprising plot twist. The little creatures were overjoyed and cuddled up to him. Shocked expressions filled the group, prompting Ain to drop the bombshell that the dragons probably saw him as their parent due to the magic stone he had absorbed from their deceased parents. With negotiations on the table, Ain proposed sparing the dragons. However, Lloyd and Christina, not swayed by the cuteness, were quick to agree to the lethal option. Ain, the voice of compassion, asked for a day to explore an alternative, seeking his grandfather's permission to raise the sea dragon twins. One fine day, we find Ain happily adoring two little baby sea dragons, Elle and Owl, as they chomp on magic crystals. After the incident that brought the sea dragons to the castle, there were some twists and turns in the situation. Despite his initial upset, Ain's grandfather eventually allowed him to keep the sea dragons. Ain, overjoyed with the decision, decided to give the sea dragons names. The older baby sea dragon became Elle, while the younger brother was named Al. As Klon marvels at the baby sea dragons, titling them the King of the Sea, she can't help but find them incredibly cute. Ain is treated to the delightful view of Klon playing with the sea dragons, almost like their mother. Witnessing this, Ain finds himself blushing. Klon, in her playful manner, hands Ain a magic stone, suggesting that he might be hungry. Although Ain wasn't truly hungry, he goes along with Klon's act, watching as the sea dragons enjoy their magical feast. Meanwhile, in the king's chambers, Ain's grandfather expresses concern for Ain's well-being. Ain assures him he's feeling much better. However, Ain's mother, Olivia, can't resist pampering and spoiling him, much to Ain's protest that he can handle things on his own. With the end of Ain's house arrest approaching, a special meeting is convened by the king. In the meeting, the king reveals a unique mission for Ain to become his representative and head to the Euro country, explaining the significance. The king details that Olivia had negotiated deals in Euro regarding sea crystals, a crucial trade for their kingdom. Concerned that his presence might spark tensions, the king entrusts Ain with the responsibility of leading the negotiations. Warren is chosen to accompany Ain, aiming to alleviate pressure and boost the chances of successful talks. Christina and Dill are assigned as Ain's escorts. Excited and determined, Ain looks forward to the adventure of traveling to and experiencing the Euro country. As Kadima delves into her research on the Demon King, she unravels a surprising revelation. The little girl in the book turns out to be none other than the nightmare of Envy, Ash. The text details a monumental battle where the powerful Demon King, along with the Dullahan and the Elder Leash, was defeated at the cost of countless lives. However, the Demon Lord harbors strong doubts about her two close associates. Despite the narrative depicting a fierce war and the defeat of formidable foes, Dullahan and the Elder Leash did not seem to have a clear intention to harm people. Kadima questions whether, even if they felt differently, Ishtalika would have been lost and perished. Another intriguing figure was later mentioned as an associate of the Demon King, which was a human form of monster, aka the Red Fox Woman. The Demon King originally did not have a belligerent character, but around that time the Red Fox appeared, and a change in the Demon King's heart started to change. Even now, there are a lot of mysteries surrounding the Red Fox monster, while only one thing for certain is that they lived a hedonistic lifestyle, one that bewitched others. She uncovers a fascinating reason behind the Demon King's rampage. The revelation sparks Kadima's curiosity, especially when she notices a connection to the worship of a red fox in Euro. As she delves deeper into her findings, Christina wakes up in a panic, having unintentionally dozed off while translating. Christina, feeling a bit flustered, apologizes for her nap, but Kadima assures her that it's perfectly fine. Understanding the demands of Christina's official duties, Kadima then inquires about Christina's official business, to which Christina reveals her upcoming journey to accompany Ain in the country of Euro. In the bustling neutral trade city of Hardland, a coliseum echoes with cheers as Logos faces off against his opponent, Edward, and Logos, showing improved strength after 3 years, makes a formidable strike. However, Edward counters with precision, delivering a powerful blow that declares him the winner. Logos' son watches in surprise from the crowd, witnessing his father's defeat. It is revealed to be none other than Clint Roundheart, the Knight of the Haim Kingdom. Determined to avenge his father's loss, Clint shares his ambitions with his supportive mother, confident that with the power of a holy knight and assistance from his fiancée Shannon, he'll achieve his goals. In the grand halls of a royal mansion, Prince Tygel, the third prince of the Haim Kingdom, expressed his frustration at the lack of reports regarding his beloved Clon over the past 3 years. Meanwhile, Clon's grandfather pondered the situation, recognizing Clon's importance in maintaining good relations between the two countries. He mused on Clon's unexpectedly strong feelings, remembering her decision to support Ain without hesitation. The grandfather reflected on the wisdom of letting Clon go to Ishtalika, believing it was the right choice for her. In the midst of Prince Tygel's frustration, his sharp-witted attendant Harley already had insights into Clon's whereabouts. A guard's report revealed that the inn and carriage carrying Clon were identified, and they were en route to the Euro Kingdom. Tygel, elated by this news, thanked Harley, feeling a surge of optimism. Determined to win Clon's heart, Tygel requested a guard to inform Clint, Tygel's trusted escort, to accompany him on this journey. The trio, each with their unique history, set off toward the Euro Kingdom. In the Duchy of Euro, the majestic sight of Ishtalika's colossal warship left the Euro King in awe. Nervously, he questioned his attendant about his formal appearance, but the attendant assured him that everything was in order. As the knights from Ishtalika lined up on the dock, preparing for the king's arrival, Ain descended and greeted the Euro King. With a formal introduction, Ain presented himself as Ain von Ishtalika, the representative of His Majesty. The Euro King, known as Amu von Euro, expressed gratitude for the meeting with Ain. The Euro King's attendant couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss about Ain's presence, sensing an energy akin to a big monster. Curiosity lingered around the unexpected crowned prince of Ishtalika in the midst of the private meeting between the crown prince and the Euro King. Their conversation was abruptly interrupted by the arrival of Prince Tygel. Tygel claimed it was a formal visit, presenting a letter from his father, King Haim. As Clint handed Tygel the letter, a sudden revelation unfolded. Clint declared that the person sitting across from them was his runaway brother. The news took everyone by surprise. Despite the discourteous introduction, Christina and Dill were ready to confront Clint, but Ain, understanding the power of words, restrained them. Ain, displaying remarkable patience, allowed Prince Tygel to discuss urgent matters. The Euro King, initially hesitant, reluctantly agreed. Clint, the obnoxious little brother, couldn't resist praising Tygel while irritatingly calling Ain hateful names. Ain, reaching the limit of his patience, sternly silenced Clint, declaring him a hindrance to the proceedings. Prince Tygel, addressing an urgent matter to the Euro King, drops a bombshell. The reason for his visit is to locate Clon, who, according to Tygel, will become his wife. The revelation leaves Warren, Christina, and Dill bewildered, aware of the truth behind Tygel's pursuit. Tygel learns that Archduke Graf August and his grandchild Clon, authorities from Haim, came to the Duchy of Euro 3 years ago. Coincidentally, around that time, formal trading between Euro and Ishtalika began. This revelation hints at the possibility that the Duchy of Euro might have played a part in selling Clon to improve relations with Ishtalika. The Euro King, shocked by the accusation, is reassured by his attendant that Euro had no involvement in human trafficking. However, Tygel arrogantly denies this and assumes a strategic timing in the events. Ain, bewildered and unsure how to react, Warren comments that, as a friendly country, they cannot overlook Euro's apparent villainous role in the unfolding story. As Warren confronts Tygel with a brash demeanor, introducing himself as Ishtalika's chancellor, Tygel, equally bold, demands answers about Clon's disappearance. Warren, maintaining a serious tone, asserts that diplomatic ties between Ishtalika and Haim Kingdom have soured, and any collaboration must be mutually beneficial. Amid the tense negotiations, Warren proposes preparing the price first, emphasizing the need for trust after their previous deal went awry. Tygel, inquisitive, asks what Warren desires in return. Warren subtly hints at wanting Logos's head, catching Tygel off guard. Tygel vehemently rejects the demand, leading to a breakdown in negotiations regarding Clon's location. Clint Tygel's escort interjects with disdainful comments about Ain, claiming it's all a facade and that Ain is weak. Dill, fed up with Clint's disrespect, defends Ain's heroic feats, highlighting Ain's dragon subjugation and life-saving actions. Clint remains skeptical, prompting Dill to challenge him to a friendly contest to prove Ain's capabilities. As tensions rise and a potential fight looms, Warren intervenes, suggesting a friendly contest to settle matters and clear Ain's position before resuming the diplomatic meeting. In their friendly contest, Warren and Christina are astonished to witness a significant skill gap, leading to Dill effortlessly defeating Clint. Ain commends Dill for his strength and Christina acknowledges his distinguished position in Ishtalaka. Ain expresses relief, knowing that Dill had held back due to their age difference and genuine concern for his well-being. Disappointed by Clint's performance, Tygel urges his escort to fight back. In a desperate attempt, Clint taps into his Holy Knight skill, leaping toward Dill with hopes of landing a devastating blow. However, Dill, keenly observing Clint's movements, swiftly counters with his sword, bringing Clint to his knees in defeat. Dill emerges as the clear winner, leaving the onlookers in a mix of surprise and amusement at the outcome. Warren, impressed by the great match, suggests continuing the meeting, and the king agrees. Before they depart, Warren tells Tygel that he forgot to mention something important about Miss Klon and promises to send a letter later that day. Tygel, surprised and curious, agrees to wait. Ain, intrigued by the secret, laughs it off, but Warren insists on teaching the prince a lesson. Later that day, Tygel reads Warren's letter and is left in utter shock and disbelief about Klon. The diplomatic meeting continues in a private royal chamber with secrets and surprises yet to unfold. After concluding their diplomatic meeting, Ain and the rest prepare to depart from the Euro Kingdom. The Euro King's attendants decide to present them with a gift, a statue of a guardian deity. When they open the gift, they discover a scarlet fox statue. Christina explains that, according to Edward, it is the guardian deity of the continent, believed to bring fortune and protect people from disaster. As the group examines the scarlet fox statue, Ain reveals that it is one of the forms of the red fox. Christina adds that Kadima's research suggests a connection to the entity that triggered the Demon Lord's rampage. Ain's demeanor takes a sudden turn, and with a mischievous laugh, he mentions that it's a creature that enjoys playing with people. Concerned, Christina and Warren notice Ain's strange behavior. Suddenly, Ain activates a restriction magic, rendering them unable to move. A powerful force envelops the atmosphere, fear. Ain undergoes a transformation, donning armor and wielding a familiar sword. In a shocking display of power, he slices the scarlet fox statue, causing a massive explosion that leaves Ain paralyzed and unconscious. Ain finds himself transported to a field, gently cushioned and serenaded by an unknown lady. Puzzled by his surroundings, the mysterious lady apologizes for causing him trouble, and another voice hints at taking care of Ain next time. Just as he's about to inquire further, Anma abruptly wakes up in his castle room, unable to recall anything after the Euro official business. Ain discovers a mysterious bandage on his hand, bearing an unfamiliar seal. Unfazed, he removes it and rings a nearby bell, curious about his situation. In a flurry of footsteps, his mother Olivia and Christina rush to his side, visibly relieved at his well-being. Ain, oblivious to the commotion, wonders why they're making such a fuss and presses for an explanation. Grandfather and grandmother join the scene, explaining that Ain fell into a coma for 6 months after returning from Euro. As they usher Olivia and Christina away to let Ain rest, he contemplates the missing memories after encountering the red fox statue. In the audience hall the next day, Ain is in a wheelchair, cared for by Christina, and Kadima takes the lead. Suddenly, an overwhelming force stops them, and Kadima confirms Christina can't move the wheelchair. Testing further, a bright light appears, warning them of a flying magic object. Ash, the Demon Lord's magic stone, is present, rejecting Ain. Kadima, with 6 months of research validated, hands Ain a book, summarizing it to provide insights into their current situation. According to the book, the Demon Lord Nightmare of Envy, Ash was initially shy and inexperienced as a queen. She had 2 family members, Dullahan and the Elder Lich. The Demon Lord's realm started as a small settlement created by the 3 of them, expanding into a large city and eventually becoming a country. Ain realizes that the Demon Lord didn't start as a Demon Lord, but Kadima adds that the country collapsed after a few years, leading to Ash's rampage after the red fox associated with her. Kadima explained that when Ain saw the red fox statue, the power of Dullahan ran amok. The demon lord rejected Ain, who had absorbed the magical stones of Dullahan and the Elder Lich. Kadima clarified that the catastrophe caused by the demon lord's rampage was not the intention of Dullahan and the Elder Lich. It was all related to the red fox. She mentioned that the voice from before was also regretting her rampage. Kadima handed Ain his status card back for him to see, and Ain was shocked, realizing that the text had become corrupted. He noted that it seemed like he had become a monster. Ain, suspecting Euro's involvement in the recent events, is reassured by Warren that it's just a coincidence and not part of any conspiracy. Kadima decides to conduct frequent tests and consultations directly with Ain to unravel the mysteries surrounding him. The king offers full support, stating that they can count on the royal resources, and Kaiser, a specific adventurer, will delve deeper into the matter. Ain expresses gratitude, apologizing for the trouble, but the king assures him that everyone is genuinely concerned about his well-being. A month later, Christina congratulated Ain for passing the advancement test and maintaining his place in the first class despite being in his 4th year. They visit Majorica's magic shop, where Majorica is initially surprised by Ain's presence. However, after a brief discussion, Majorica realizes that Ain has been absent for a while. Majorica questions Ain's identity, wondering if he is a human or a monster. Unfazed, confirms that he is more or less human. Majorica, understanding Ain's perspective, suggests that from an outsider's view, the crown prince appears as if he consumed a magic stone and evolved into a monster. Ain acknowledges the power of magic stones but denies being a monster, and he opens up to Majorica about the incident to provide a clearer understanding of his condition. Majorica likens Ain to a world tree, the origin of dryads protecting those around it and absorbing evil monsters. Acknowledging Ain's quest for information about the Red Fox, Majorica suggests heading to the City of Magic, Isto, or the Adventure City, Balto. Isto is a hub for magic tool research, while Balto, though close, is in the Demon Lord's territory, known for its eerie atmosphere and decorations of corpses and defeated monsters. Ain, fascinated by the idea, looks forward to the journey. However, Christina, with a sudden glance, opposes the idea of going to Balto, recalling mysterious monsters and an undead feeling during her investigations at the Demon Lord's castle. Ain, sighing, opts for Isto, and Majorica, knowing someone there who can assist with the Red Fox research, promises to provide an introduction letter. Ain expresses gratitude, and when Christina requests a cloaking magic tool for their investigation, Majorica agrees, deciding to create custom robes for the task. Later on the beach, Ain sits next to Klon and explains why he's heading to Istu. Klon, with a pouty expression, teases Ain about being too busy for them, but she's just kidding. She presents the 2 baby sea dragons, now 5 meters long, and mentions they might come to Ain's aid if he's in danger. Klon gives Ain a present called a message bird, a device to communicate over long distances. Ain asks what she would do if he became a monster, and Klon assures him not much would change. She jokes that if he does turn into a monster, he should gift her another star crystal. Ain promises to do so. As the water train prepares to depart, Kadima enjoys a relaxing massage from Ain, leaving him curious about why she's with them. Kadima reveals she used her collection of Demon Lord books as leverage to join Ain on the journey, having hidden herself in luggage. With only 3 concealment robes available, Dill offers his, but Kadima has her own magic tool, concealment glasses. Excited for the journey to Isto, the holy ground for researchers, Kadima looks forward to the adventure. Upon arriving in Isto, a magical city with towering buildings, an automated magic detector, Ticket Gate, welcomes them. The center of the city boasts the Tower of Wisdom, taller than the royal castle, with pipes extending to supply magic stone energy throughout the town. Ain, intrigued, asks about the tower's interior, and Kadima explains it's a research facility with strict screening and high maintenance costs, limiting the number of magic tools that can be rented. After arriving in Isto, Dill suggests dropping their things at an inn, and Ain agrees, deciding to contact Klon. He records a message, mentioning the colder weather and the impressive size of the Tower of Wisdom. After sending the message, they head to an inn, following the address in the letter, unaware it's the Iesto Magic University-affiliated academy. Approaching the academy, they encounter guards at the gate. Christina provides a referral letter, and the guard, skeptical, checks its authenticity. To their surprise, the guard hurries to call Chief Professor Oz. Oz arrives and, learning they were recommended by Professor Majorika, invites them to his office, expressing gratitude for their visit. Ain, unaware of Majorika's revered status, is grateful for Oz's thoughtfulness. As Ain decides on introductions, he leaves himself out, being well known as the Crown Prince. Christina, the Marshal of the Knights, introduces herself, followed by Dill, Ain's bodyguard trainee, and finally, Kadima von Ishtalika, who unexpectedly starts acting like a true princess. Christina reassures Ain that it's because Kadima is the first princess, making Ain wonder about her sudden behavior. Professor Oz is amazed to meet the renowned first princess and expresses his gratitude. Kadima, adding that she's here to help her troubled nephew, hopes to learn more in Isto. Professor Oz is excited and welcomes her with pleasure. As Professor Oz inquires about Ain's need for help, Ain recounts the situation with his body and the red fox. After explaining, Professor Oz, whose expertise lies in magic stone energy, considers himself the most suitable to assist. Surprised to learn that Ain absorbed Dullahan's and the Elderlich's magic stones, he decides to reveal something crucial. Despite Christina's caution, Oz assures her of the safety in his sealed room. As Oz approaches Ain, he unveils a box containing a magic stone, explaining that it holds the information they seek. Christina, still wary, holds Ain's hand in case of any unexpected developments. When Oz opens the chest, they are met with the sight of the Red Fox's magic stone. With caution surrounding the Red Fox's magic stone, Christina remembers the havoc Ain wreaked under its influence. Ain, however, reassures her that he feels fine in its presence. Recalling the Elder Lix's statement about suppressing Dullahan for him, Ain acquires the precious magic stone. Ain then requests Oz's help in understanding his current condition, and Oz agrees, promising to provide more details about his Red Fox research in a few days after compiling the data. Ain, grateful for Oz's assistance, inquires about a suitable reward. Oz initially declines, appreciating the story, but Christina insists that refusing a reward might lead to rumors of Ain exploiting his authority. After considering, Oz suggests a non-monetary reward, aiding in the investigation of recent child abductions in Isto. He reveals his concern for the unsolved cases involving orphan children from the slums and asks Ain to use his influence to involve the Knights in solving this pressing matter. Ain, impressed by Professor Oz's benevolence, agrees to assist in the investigation of the missing orphans in the slums. He also offers to join the search after Oz completes his data compilation, much to Christina's concern for Ain's safety. Before leaving, Oz provides Ain with an old piece of Isto research data, hinting that it might hold clues to Ain's body condition. As they return to the inn, Kadima expresses her desire to go shopping, and Dill quickly follows her. Meanwhile, a disgruntled noble complains about his room being occupied by another guest, offering more money to vacate it. However, Ain and Christina remain unfazed, as the room wasn't booked in advance, and they continue with their day. The noble, Viscount Seiji, creates a ruckus at the inn, vowing never to stay there again. Ain overhears him boasting about commanding a wyvern and a kraken, making ominous threats. Christina recognizes him as a member of a prestigious family with a history of powerful individuals. She explains that some nobles keep monsters as pets, bought from companies or captured by adventurers. However, if the monsters harm people, the owner faces consequences. Later, Kadima is puzzled by the sight of Christina sleeping on Ain's lap. Ain jokingly suggests that she might be tired, but Kadima, finding it amusing, wonders why a marshal is sleeping on a crown prince's lap for the first time. Ain shares with Kadima the contents of the documents, revealing it to be about the experiment of turning outlanders into monsters, with the goal of creating an artificial demon lord. He explains that the process involved melting magic stone energy and forcibly making the subjects grow stronger. Kadima adds historical context, mentioning a time when outlanders were considered monsters and believed that absorbing magic stone energy could make them stronger. Ain questions if what he's doing, absorbing magic stone energy, is similar to the experiment. Kadima clarifies that the vast majority of subjects in the experiment failed, and those who succeeded often became uncontrollable or targeted. Ain expresses concern that if his monsterization continues, he might one day harm those he cares about. Kadima emphasizes the importance of the investigation to prevent such a scenario. Kadima assures Ain that if he were to transform into a monster, it wouldn't be a situation where he becomes a mindless creature. She explains that monsters like Dullahan and the Elder Light can easily pass as ordinary beings in regular clothes. Ain, finding the idea amusing, laughs at the notion of registering as a new race if he ever evolves into a monster. Kadima advises him not to overthink but acknowledges the importance of being prepared. As Ain steps out for a moment, Kadima realizes that Christina has been awake the whole time. She urges Christina to keep their conversation a secret and promises to speak to her father if necessary. Christina, embarrassed about falling asleep on Ain's lap, expresses concern that she might not be able to keep silent if the king asks. Kadima, understanding the predicament, issues a royal decree as the first princess, forbidding Christina from divulging any information about Ain's monsterization to anyone, including royalty. Christina agrees, and Kadima emphasizes that it's for Ain's sake and to respect his privacy. The next morning, Ain wonders about Dill and Kadima's whereabouts. Christina informs him that they went shopping early in the morning. Ain jokingly says that Dill must be the sacrifice for the day. Suddenly, a bright light emanates from Ain's clothes, revealing a message bird from Klon. Klon's message expresses relief that Ain arrived safely, warns him not to get sick in the colder Isto, and mentions that her grandfather is working there. Ain is asked to greet him, and Klon eagerly awaits his next contact. With a reassuring smile, Ain promises to do his best to resolve his problem and thanks Klon. As they make their way into the lively city of Isto, Ain and Christina find themselves in a bustling town full of popular tourist spots. Realizing it might be challenging to gather information in the crowded areas, Ain suggests exploring the alleyways. However, their attempt to navigate the alleys ends up in them getting lost. Amidst the confusion, a commotion catches their attention. A girl is being chased by a group of bandits, and despite their attempts to grab her, she pleads for help. Out of nowhere, a surprise attack from Christina incapacitates the bandits. Ain and Christina rush to check on the girl, who falls unconscious. Realizing she's dressed like one of the orphans from the slums, they decide to bring her back to their inn. When the girl awakens, Ain and Christina provide her with a delicately prepared meal. Tearfully grateful, she starts eating, and Ain assures her that it's for her. Curious about why she was being pursued, the girl has no answers. She came home to find men there, and her sister had been taken away. As she eats, the girl tearfully pleads for help to save her sister, and Ain reassures her that they will do everything to rescue her. In gratitude, she expresses her thanks. Later, Dill, who had been conducting an interrogation, knocks on the door. Ain inquires about the results, and Dill reveals that the men were hired adventurers. The kidnappers communicated through intermediaries, making it difficult to trace the mastermind. Interviewing people around the alley, they discover that a carriage linked to the kidnappers headed towards the Tower of Wisdom. The revelation raises suspicions about the possible involvement of Tower officials in the kidnappings. Later that day, with no luck in gathering information, Christina suggests a visit to a popular spot where monsters can be seen during the day. Ain reluctantly agrees, seeing it as an opportunity for sightseeing. Amidst the crowd of various monsters, Ain notices creatures he's never seen before. Christina, excitedly pointing out a green wyvern, suggests they take a closer look. As they approach, a larger wyvern, twice the size of the green one, panics, sensing a monster's presence. It turns out Ain was just examining it closely, but the wyvern, petrified, continues to tremble. Christina speculates that the creature might have sensed the sea dragon's power within Ain. Suddenly, Viscount Seiji, the owner of the wyvern, arrives, noticing his pet's distress. He berates the wyvern, unaware that Ain might be the cause. The Viscount, unable to figure out the problem, then focuses on Ain and Christina, questioning if they did anything to his wyvern. They claim innocence, stating they were only looking. The Viscount, suspicious, orders his attendant to remove Ain's hood. Christina intervenes, preventing the attendant from touching Ain. The Viscount, with a sinister smile, lets them go, inviting them to his inn with a promise not to be rough if they follow quietly. Ain steps in, declaring Christina's importance to him and refusing to let the Viscount lay a hand on her. Despite the Viscount's surprise at Ain's impoliteness, he decides to spare them. Ain grabs Christina's hand and pulls her away, signaling that they've encountered something they shouldn't have and need to go home. As they head back, Ain releases her hand, leaving Christina pouting and wanting to hold Ain's hand again. Ain, contemplating Viscount Siji's financial struggles, questions Christina about the feasibility of maintaining a wyvern and kraken with such financial instability. The cost of 5 to 6 million per month seems exorbitant, even with prize money from the monster area. Ain wonders about the source of the Viscount's funds. Ain, still suspicious of the Viscount, inquires if he has access to the tower. Christina reveals that the Viscount's predecessor owned a laboratory inside the tower, suggesting the current Viscount likely has access. Realizing the connection, Ain deduces that the carriage seen heading to the Tower of Wisdom might be linked to someone with access to the tower, particularly an aristocrat with unknown revenue sources. The Tower of Wisdom becomes the focal point for their investigation. Ain, suspecting the Tower of Wisdom's involvement in the kidnappings, approaches Kadima with the idea of investigating. Wanting to use his royal decree to gain access, Kadima advises against it, fearing it might reflect poorly on Ain's image. Instead, they opt for a stealthy approach. Recognizing the challenge of tight security, Kadima proposes a strategy to neutralize it. She reveals that the tower's functions, including security, are powered by a giant magic stone furnace underground. Ain, suggesting the direct destruction of the furnace, is scolded by Kadima, who emphasizes the potentially catastrophic consequences. She then shares an alternative plan with Ain, informing the girl, Verla, that her sister may be in the Tower of Wisdom. They seek her cooperation. Ain introduces himself, playfully labeling Kadima as a cat, leading to Kadima's displeasure. With the necessary information in hand, Ain prepares to set out, leaving Dill to guard Kadima. As the curious girl learns the identities of her saviors, Kadima reveals that the man is Ain von Ishtalika, the crown prince of the country, and introduces herself as Kadima von Ishtalika. The girl is in shock to be conversing with a royal figure. Kadima takes charge, instructing Dill to start working. She emphasizes the need for Ain to think ahead, especially in moments of rescue. Kadima outlines their plans to contact the police station to check for missing person reports, arrange a healer, and prepare clothes. Before she finishes, Dill volunteers to assist, expressing his willingness to contribute to the success of the mission. Kadima, pleased, assigns him the task of writing letters, ensuring secrecy about their presence in Isto. In a carriage, one of the helpers informs Graf that everything is ready. Graf questions whether they are truly going inside the tower, and Ain affirms. While Christina is eager to return to the inn, Ain expresses gratitude to Graf for his assistance. Graf humorously mentions the unexpected help from the expansion of the August Company's sales channel in Isto. He instructs them the wooden box with magic stones will be delivered directly to the tower's basement. Although hesitant, Christina volunteers to go alone to protect Ain. Ain appreciates the gesture, but is determined to confront those who harm innocent children. Christina agrees, pledging to protect him, and the infiltration plan begins. In the August mansion, Klon receives Ain's message detailing his task in Isto. A tinge of jealousy creeps in as Klon contemplates Christina's constant presence by Ain's side. Feeling a sense of hopelessness, Klon can no longer suppress her feelings, acknowledging a deep yearning for Ain. She reflects on their shared memories, realizing her vulnerability to loneliness. Suddenly unaware that her emotional outburst has been recorded, Klon blushes with embarrassment, unsure of how to proceed after Ain hears her heartfelt confession. In a burst of honesty, she attributes her feelings to Ain's prolonged absence, playfully putting the blame on him for not returning home sooner.